And Mayers for the win for Baylor from 30. Good hold, good snap. The kick is through. Baylor breaks its losing streak. And it's a yellow rush on the field, 32-31.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Daggy hit as he throws. Touchdown, West Virginia. T.J. Simmons puts the Mountaineers ahead.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Slovis to throw, stepping up in the pocket on second down and long. Has a man downfield. Drake London breaking free. London inside the 10. They can't get him down. Into the end zone for the SC touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Prescott trying to take advantage. Going deep. Cooper. Oh! One-hander! Are you kidding me?
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we are on this Thursday afternoon, early in August. College practices have begun for most. Baylor opens up theirs tomorrow. In the state of Texas, the high school workouts have continued since Monday. Robert Griffin III is going to be a college analyst at ESPN. And also, there's some Olympic news, and we've kind of at times brought that up on occasion. And Craig will have Off the Radar at 4:45. But, boy, the men in track and field have been a near, not disaster, but they have struggled, including last night. Trayvon Bromell, who did not qualify for the final in the 100, was in the 4x100. They finished sixth in their heat, and there was a terrible handoff between 2 and 3, including the silver medalist 100-meter Fred Curley, and it was a disaster. And then Trayvon, when he took the baton on the fourth leg, I think it was, he's the one with the headband. Looks like he was making up ground, and then he just didn't. He never had it. This year, this last week or so, his legs have just not been there.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he's running confident yet. Really confident, like he was before the injury. And the other thing was,
my God, he won the U.S. Olympic trials.
Yeah, but I mean, like really, but confident. I mean, he won the U.S. Olympic trials, but the Olympics the world is different. I mean, was he worried, or does it creep back in? Did he something going on? But yeah, he just didn't have it. And then the other thing is, Carl Lewis just ripped them to shreds.
Yeah, he did.
Well, Trayvon Bromell was the odds in a way favorite to win, gold for the U.S. I mean, he was one of the favorites in the race. There's no way to dissect. I mean, he was on this show, and he seemed plenty confident. He was so confident he didn't have time to even really answer questions. And then to turn around and go perform the way that he did in the Olympics, I'm not dogging on the guy, but massive disappointment. Massive disappointment. I mean, he didn't even get close to medaling. This is a guy who's supposed to compete for gold. He didn't even get close to medaling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know I don't know about his confidence and all that. Like I said, he seemed pretty confident a few weeks ago. So between the phone conversation we had about a week before the game started and, these last, 10 days or so, I don't know where that confidence went. I don't know if he's got an injury he's dealing with. I don't know. But that was not at all the way the Olympic Games were supposed to go.
I mentioned he was the last. He was the first. He led off the 4x100. David, thanks for correcting me. Why is your fastest? And I know he wasn't the fastest the last week or so, but he's your, like you said, odds-on favorite, best in the 100. Curley got the silver. Why is he in the first leg when there's a turn? Why is Trayvon Bromell not straight ahead speed, and why is he running the turn?
Well, I mean, that's what Carl Lewis's critique was. Nobody was in the right spots. The handoff was terrible. So clearly this is, in his opinion, was a coaching issue and a strategy issue.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I have his quote. And Craig, I apologize if this is any of your off-the-radar information today, because there's other things to get to as well, including, of course, thanks to our audience that's listening on the app, online, YouTube, watching, and in many other places. Carl Lewis, the U.S. team did everything wrong in the men's relay, the passing system wrong, athletes running the wrong legs, and it was clear there had been no leadership. It was a total embarrassment, completely unacceptable for the USA team to look worse than the AAU kids I saw. And on top of that, the United States now, they had won 15 of 18 gold medals in the 4x100 from 1920 until 2000. They now, since 2000, they basically have not medaled. Without an Olympic medal in the 4x100 relay since 2004 or gold since 2000. That's from David Woods 007. And it did appear as if Trayvon's legs were just something happened. Maybe I don't know. But he obviously did not have it this last week or so.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. He didn't even sniff the finals. I mean, let's just be upfront about it. I mean, we can kind of dance around the disappointment, but, that's what I'm saying. I would love to hear if he has an injury, if he had something go wrong mentally, but to go there and to not even make the finals in all of your heats is, it's pretty disappointing. And apparently they weren't practicing, this relay team. They didn't practice together at all, hardly. Bromell, when he missed out on the 100 final a few days ago, he just breezed past reporters, didn't speak to anybody. Last night they tried to interview the relay team. Bromell breezes past people, doesn't speak to anybody. And the other guys actually stopped and talked to reporters. And Curley said, when asked about how much they practiced, don't know. Baker said not much. Gillespie said a few days. So, I mean, these guys just went out there basically with no preparation, with obviously not a very good coaching setup, clearly, to have everybody rearranged, and in the wrong spots that, Carl Lewis was able to, see that and say what he said. But, yeah, awful coaching job, awful performance. And it's been so long, you point out with that stat. Why are we surprised now at this point? I mean, shoot, we're going on 20 years of this, so maybe we need to come to the realization as Americans that this just isn't our bag right now, and that some massive overhaul needs to happen to where it does become something that the Americans are actually pretty lethal at. But yeah, that's a disappointing race, and kudos to the other countries that moved along. But that was unexpected.
We should dominate in track like we dominate in swimming.
Should, yeah.
American basketball team, which started out a little rocky. Remember some of those, I guess you could say, friendlies or whatever it was. They're going to play for the championship. Luka Doncic of the Mavericks from Slovenia, they fell a point short in losing today in the semifinal. And Luka had himself a nice little run with Slovenia. Americans beat Australia pretty easily. Kevin Durant, of course, is carrying that team after such a shocking start earlier in the Olympic Games and right before that as well. So I have a text I want to share, and by the way, the chat room is wide open at 254-339-1122. Some of you have already have made your comments. The text line also, thanks to David Anderson, and also the 940. Continuing your show from yesterday, I'm a UT fan, but grew up loving the Big 12 matchups. However, I must say it feels a little hypocritical from my perspective that you guys criticize Texas and Oklahoma for not wanting to expand with Memphis, UCF, Cincinnati, or whoever. You say that stunted the growth. Only then turning up your noses at the thought of adding them to the conference, because I agree with you all, they don't bring enough market value. My point is Texas and Oklahoma probably didn't want to expand for the same reason. Only now they're being chastised because now look, the Big 12 wants to expand. It comes across as the other schools looking for another sugar daddy. I'm going to answer a little bit of that. You guys respond to it as well, 254-339-1122. And realignment's going to always kind of be on the table. But at the same time, it's starting to die down a little bit, and even if there's a flare-up of a story or two. Here's the thing. Every conference has 2 or 4 in that vicinity sugar daddies. No conference has 8 or 12 or 16. Not the Big Ten, not the SEC, not the ACC, not the Pac-12, and not the Big 12. So that Texas and Oklahoma are the sugar daddies, no one's ever argued with that. But the other sugar daddies in other conferences, what will happen and what has happened for the most part, although the Pac-12 is a little wobbly, is their sugar daddies stood up and found a way to make the conference better and was not against growth. Was not against thinking outside the box, was not always thinking about just themselves, or me, myself, and I, but also the greatness of the conference. The conference is as strong as not the sugar daddies, but how strong is your weakest link? And I'm not complaining because Texas and Oklahoma poo-pooed Memphis or UH or UCF, whatever. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be added to the conference, because that might be really one of the only choices the Big 12 or remaining 8 have.
I don't think that was what we were saying. It was.
No, it wasn't. Absolutely it wasn't.
It was. We're saying that the reason they didn't get added before was because the Big 12 felt they didn't add anything, and I don't know what has changed in that other than the Texas and Oklahoma leaving. And then we have the information that really Texas and Oklahoma were the ones who drove the idea of them not adding them back then. And there's things that we didn't know or fully grasp at the time, which was, back then, and it was not too long ago, cable television was still growing based on, footprint and market size, and streaming has changed that. That's what the Big 12 was trying to do, and Texas and Oklahoma shot it down. So they didn't get to have a foothold with a Big 12 network like the ACC or SEC does. They had the Longhorn Network and the third-tier rights deals that they had to make along the side. So they didn't have any of that. And then, the question was, why didn't the Big 12 just add this? Like, they may have to now, and it's not a terrible idea, but it may not be their best option. And I don't know what's changed about those schools in those last 4 years.
Here's where I was coming from on that. Definitely wasn't looking at it as like being sad about the sugar daddies and whatever stuff. You need to pump your head up. Like, that's all fine. That's definitely not what any of us were saying. I was looking at it as, now you're hearing from Oklahoma and Texas, well, the Big 12 didn't do enough. Big 12, didn't supply this, or the Big 12 just wasn't a good enough fit. But yeah, we look back on opportunities the Big 12 had to actually try and take a step forward by adding teams a few years ago. And who didn't want to do that? So you don't want to do it then, but now you're complaining that they haven't tried to do anything. That's where I'm coming from. It's like, if you were actually invested in the Big 12, if the best move a few years ago was for the Big 12 to add schools and that would have kept you happy, then they should have added schools. But if you are shooting down teams that could potentially bolster the Big 12's future, all with the idea that you're not going to be a part of it anyways, then you're sabotaging the whole thing. Like, that's where I'm coming from. It's like, go do whatever you want to do. But if you intentionally were part of not wanting to add teams, and the whole time while everybody's like, okay, if that's what's best for the Big 12, but you're planning your exit, then you're effing all those other schools and knowingly doing it. Like, that's where I was coming from on it. Now, I'm with you. I don't think those schools back then would have saved the Big 12. I don't think the schools now are going to save the Big 12. I honestly don't know, what is going to save the Big 12. That's why I just fall back to the default of just stick together until you can't stick together anymore. But, that's where I was coming from. It's like, they tried to do some things, and people weren't interested in doing it. And now, fast forward years later, and, well, why didn't you try to do anything? That's what's, kind of my perspective on it.
All right.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah. No, it does. And I think sometimes the context of a text or the context of a chat room or whatever. From Jeff Grimm, I like Memphis for the Big 12. If Caden, I think the Big 12 will be fine. Keep calm, carry on. Mark Anderson, Texas doesn't even own the Big 12. They have a barely 500 record in the last decade and are 5th in the league in wins. That's true, Mark. And listen, there's been a lot of things said about UT. That has nothing to do with the merger with the SEC or the realignment or expansion. They have, no matter, that's how powerful they really are. Say whatever you want, that they can be very average at best for the last decade. And their best season was a year they won the Sugar Bowl and lost 4 times that year. But in the last 10 years, they've been average at best, and they still have clout. And that is the ultimate, I guess, almost compliment in a way that they still have that kind of clout and the eyeballs and the interest and the image and, of course, everything else in between.
Yeah, but part of the reason they feel the Big 12 isn't doing enough for them is because they haven't done enough for themselves.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. Yeah, it's like, okay, so what was the problem with expansion, all that? Longhorn Network, right? So, like, that was a hurdle they had to go through. That was all directly related to Texas, and other teams, weren't necessarily interested in being a part of, that whole get-up. But, yeah, I don't want to I just want to be very careful here, not sound like we're bashing on Texas or anything, but that was just my perspective was it seems to me that the Big 12 was trying to do some things, and it also seemed to me that there were those who have a say in the Big 12 that didn't want those things to happen. And now you see those teams who had that say are leaving, and leaving everybody with just like, well, wish we would have added teams. Well, why didn't you? Oh, because the teams that are leaving didn't want to add teams. So, it just left these 8 schools, and I'm not, don't feel sorry for them, or I'm not sitting there pitying them or anything. But, yeah, they kind of got stuck in a really weird situation, and now they're trying to figure out how to best get out of it.
We have a guest coming up who covers Cincinnati, the University of Cincinnati at 3:30. Also today, Craig has his Off the Radar at 4:45. Paul's Top 5 at 5:55. Also today, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, is in Canton, Ohio. Cowboys and Steelers, the NFL preseason opens up tonight. And I'm going to have to almost be reminded that game's being played for me to even turn it on. It's not a shot at the game. It's just that game to me has zero impact, and I hope everybody just comes out of it for both teams healthy. That's how much I think about the 5th preseason game or the 4th preseason game, or pretty much almost every preseason game. I know some teams, some guys can make the team because of what they do at times in the preseason, and most of them who do end up not even playing or making the team or flame out. Good luck and hope they stay healthy. Now, also the number to call, 254-339-1122. SicEm365 Radio. One note about a player, Astros pitcher, J.R. Richard. His career was cut short because he suffered a stroke. He died at the age of 71. When he was on, and for 10 years with the Astros, he was dominant. He's an all-star, an Astros Hall of Famer. He could flat out zing it. 6'8", dominating. He started the All-Star game in 1980. He passed away at the age of 71. He was, at one point, there was a story about him living like underneath a bridge.
Yeah, I was trying to remember when I was reading that article that was him, and he was an Astros legend. I mean, his career cut short, but his career, 107 and 71, 3.15 ERA for the career, almost 1,500 strikeouts in 10 years. That's fantastic.
Yeah, he was really, really good. I hate that news that he passes away at the age of 71. All right, from Fran Fraschilla, basketball know everything. Let's not get smug about this. I love my USA basketball as much as I love international hoops. Be grateful, though, that KD decided to play for the United States team that's going to play for the gold medal. Ish Wainwright played at Baylor, is headed to the NBA. We'll have more information on that. Is that going to be a part of your Off the Radar? He's signed by the Toronto Raptors Summer League team. Good luck to him as well. All right, two more texts to get to in your calls. 254-339-1122. 832. The remaining Big 12 teams need to merge with the AAC. Create, if you want to call it a big American conference or whatever. The only way that's not a Power 5 is if Power 5 doesn't exist anymore, and we're talking about Power 4. The AAC is already clearly the 6th best conference in America, so if the Big 12 were to go away, you have to assume that they are 5th. Danny in Houston, K-State, and the University of Houston guy. Good luck to K-State in the survival, and also the University of Houston as well. From the 385, John from Texas, actually from Utah. Boise, BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston would be great additions. Let me ask you about that. If the Big 12 in the next few days months. Announce those 4. Would that ring your bell? Brigham Young, Boise State, Cincinnati, and Houston.
Not as much as UCF and Memphis and Cincinnati would.
No, UCF and Memphis are not part of this group.
Yeah, no, not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what are the options?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Is my other option that you shut down as a Division I football program? Okay, sure, I'll take those schools. Or is it, you drop down a level? Is there another option where I could add Memphis and the other teams that Paul just mentioned, and I don't drop down a level? But okay, if that's what they have to do, if that's their best option, then it doesn't really matter who the teams are. If it's your best option, it's your best option. So sure, be with Houston and all of that. Again, you're going to bring Houston up to your level. You're going to bring SMU up to your level. And you're suddenly going to be on even playing field with them. I mean, that's what keeps rattling around in my head. But if that's unpreventable, then so be it. But if I'm Baylor, if I'm TCU, I'm trying to keep every advantage I can from those other schools, because you already don't have, or you're already at a huge disadvantage versus A&M versus Texas. So you're in that little second tier. I don't think you really want to bring that third tier up with you or drop down to that third tier and create an even larger gap. But yeah, if that's their only option, then sure, I think most people would be fine with that.
All right, let's take a break here. 3:19 is the time. SicEm365 Radio. Armstrong, Marquise, Hayden, and also Jack in the studio again behind the scenes. A lot of you on the text line, a lot of you in the chat room. We'd love to hear from you as well. We're going to talk Cincinnati football at 3:30. And oh my goodness, I don't know what we're going to have at 5, because Doug Gottlieb of Fox Sports, Oklahoma State alum, went nuts today on the Oklahoma and Texas and the leaving of the Big 12 for the SEC, mainly directed at the team in the state north of us in Oklahoma. This is SicEm365 Radio. Impact Health. How do you impact your health? You make sure you don't have things that could also, affect your life. Like, for example, fatty liver disease. Have you ever had anybody that might have that? It can cripple you. It could absolutely shut you down. Diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol can lead to that. Or also, if you have that, could also be a problem when it comes to fatty liver disease. Here's what Dr. Gunn is doing at Impact Research Institute. They are now located in the Medical Plaza off Fish Pond Road in Waco. Impact Research Institute can set you up for a screening, check to see if you have any kind of fatty liver disease, any kind of thoughts of what might be going on there, and then give you solutions, counseling, and also what they're doing because of the grants that Dr. Gunn is getting, access to sophisticated diagnostic imaging assessments at no charge, direct counseling with a physician or licensed provider. And here's also what they do, opportunity, if you're a part of the program, to participate in a clinical trial with compensation if you qualify. Of course, you ask them for more details. Impact Research had their ribbon cutting and grand opening last week. They've opened up, and the response has been amazing. They're tied into one of our other sponsors, Ideal MRI. They are doing the MRIs for fatty liver disease. So if, in fact, even if you're 20 or you're 70, you don't know, Impact Research Institute will.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SicEm365. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SicEm365.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Do it today by searching SicEm365 on YouTube.
3:26 is the time. SicEm365 Radio. We're on until 6 o'clock tonight. Chad Brendel from Bearcat Journal 247 Sports joins us, covers Cincinnati for that website, and as well covers a program that has been pretty good. No question about it, but they're always one of those that's kind of on the outside, like we've discussed with UCF or others. Chad, what is the thought in Cincinnati about the program, and are they at some point you think it'll be a fit during all of what might happen in the upcoming months and years with realignment?
Yeah, I you know what's interesting, I think, is the important part to remember here about Cincinnati is they haven't always been left out. While the Big East was kind of looked down upon as a football conference, it had automatic BCS, bids when they were there, and they got caught kind of with their pants down. They didn't prepare for what was next, and I think that influenced where you've seen the program go since all of the last round. When the music stopped and everybody had a chair, but basically Cincinnati. I think they learned from a lot of those mistakes. If you look, they spent $90 million renovating Nippert Stadium, and they spent about $100 million completely gutting and revamping Fifth Third Arena, and they've invested in infrastructure, and they've done all those things behind the scenes that Louisville did the last time. Louisville was ready, and Cincinnati wasn't, and I think they learned from those lessons. I think they've built things the right way right now, and they caught a heck of a break when they hired Luke Fickell from Ohio State, because That's worked out about as well as any hire in the country over the past decade or so.
Chad, what is their position now as the Big 12 is in flux, to say the least, and that things are changing? Like, how do they navigate this now with a potential large shakeup across the country, and maybe not just OU and Texas leaving?
I mean, if from Cincinnati's perspective, I think the most logical fit for Cincinnati, and as we're finding out, what you think is the most logical fit for you might not be actually where you end up. The ACC probably makes the most sense because you've got, similar city-type schools throughout the conference. You've got some rivalries already built in with Louisville and Pitt. But ultimately, they're not in a position to be picky right now. And we don't know what the ACC, if anything, what the ACC is going to do. So I think if you're Cincinnati, you're obviously looking at the Big 12. You've already gone through this once with the Big 12. So the interesting thing is there's not a whole lot of to say in Cincinnati's presentation to the Big 12. They've already made it once. And honestly, I think if the Big 12 were to have expanded back in 2016, Cincinnati was in. So I think the presidents and the people that run the 8 schools that are remaining, I think they think favorably of Cincinnati. It's a matter of now we get down into the, crunching the numbers and what kind of value do they add and how much do they move the conference forward. But with the Big 12, you're talking about a conference that right now at 8, they can't survive at 8 if they're going to stay together. So they're going to have to make a move, and Cincinnati's positioned well if they do.
What are your thoughts on the Americans' relationship with ESPN? And obviously the reports last week that one of the ideas for these 8 remaining was to fold them into the American, not the other way around, where Cincy or UCF or whoever goes to the Big 12, but the remaining Big 12 schools actually go to the American.
I'm not a fan, personally. I know there's a lot of people in the city that don't agree with me on that, and including one of my guys that works for me on the website that I do my podcast with. But I saw what happened, 10 years ago, and the biggest mistake that Cincinnati and the remaining schools made was selling off and not keeping the Big East name, because that means something. And kids grow up. Even if Villanova's gone and, St. John's is gone, the Big East name meant something. And it allowed those basketball schools to land on their feet because they had a name that had some juice. The American didn't have any juice. You know how many kids grew up wanting to play in the American Athletic Conference? 0. None. Not one. There's not one kid that's ever grown up and been like, man, I just want to play in the American. And I think you're repeating history if you try to fold the Big 12 teams into the American Athletic Conference. You're again wasting a chance to take a brand that has built up equity, that has built up a name, even if it's not, the same as it was with Texas and Oklahoma. There are still kids that are going to resonate with the Big 12, and it's still going to mean something. I just don't like. And maybe another 10 years from now, we look back and say, man, the American really made a name for itself. We took that gamble once. I didn't like the path that it took things on.
Knowing that it is every man for himself and kind of the jungle that is college football, do they have allies, though? Do they have people that would be like, okay, look, we'll come with you, like, let's do this together?
I don't think so, because I think this group is so new together. I mean, the only schools that are left from the Big East are Cincinnati and South Florida. UConn left, and Louisville left, and Rutgers left. Like, even those teams that created the American, it's hard to believe, but there's only 2 of those standing. So Central Florida, they've bounced in and out of a conference with them throughout time, but there's no real relationship there. I mean, I guess I would say Memphis, but, Memphis is flaunting FedEx dollars and doing everything it can, because Memphis has issues academically that a lot of these conferences, don't want to take on, even though they've got a pretty favorable profile in a lot of other areas. Memphis is busy solving their own problems. The only alliance, quote unquote, that would make any sense would be West Virginia and Cincinnati going to the ACC, and that's one because of travel and two because of Gordon Gee's ties to the state of Ohio. But I don't think there's anybody, if you're looking at going to the Big 12, that's ready to, Cincinnati's ready to go hand in hand with, even though you're building rivalries. I think UCF, especially with Gus Malzahn, has a chance to be a heck of a rivalry. But at the current time, I don't think that the Big 12's calling UC and they're like, hey, can we bring Central Florida with us?
Yeah.
I don't see that as likely.
I didn't realize this. Cincinnati's 300,000. What's the Waco population?
Like 120,
120 or something
probably.
like that. It's not as large as I thought, but it's still large enough. How do they do with eyeballs in the state of Ohio? Whether it's I know that's a professional state, but I also know there's Ohio State. How do they do with that?
Really well. I mean, if you look, they had outside of the playoff, Cincinnati, Georgia was the number one bowl game. If you look at the numbers on streaming, they're number one in the American Athletic Conference in terms of getting eyeballs to ESPN Plus, which, as we are finding out, is a very important piece of this puzzle. And generally, they've been number one or number two right there with UCF in weekly who's watching their games. It's one of the largest college basketball markets every year in Cincinnati, and football has been supported here at a pretty high level. I think there was always the assumption, and that 300,000 number really is a little bit different because there's about 1.2 million in the metro area. And so that's Cincinnati in particular. But if you go into the suburbs and northern Kentucky, which is where I know people find this hard to believe, the Cincinnati airport is in Kentucky. Yeah. But it's about 1.2 million in the metro area. So, there's a lot more eyeballs than people think when you just look at the raw data. When you dig a little bit deeper, there's and it's growing because Cincinnati, if we're being honest, up until Brian Kelly got here, nobody paid attention to Cincinnati football. And now you're building on 10, 12, going on 15 years where the football program has mattered, and the football program is still on the upswing. It's still growing.
And by the way, I did fly into Cincinnati, Paul. Remember, I covered women's basketball against in Lexington, I believe, is where I flew in. It is. You're right.
Chad, would moving into a P5 conference maybe solidify, even if it was 3 years from now, solidify Luke Fickell a little bit more, or is that something that Bearcat fans are just going to have to white knuckle until he decides to stay or go?
I mean, the thing that's interesting about Luke is he's not – I've been doing this for 25 years. I started in 1995 at Marshall with Chad Pennington and Randy Moss, and I've dealt with a lot of different coaches. Luke Fickell's different in that he's not an ego guy. He's not driven by the climb. We saw that with Brian Kelly and Butch Jones couldn't climb. Butch Jones tried to climb faster than he could climb, which is why he fell. But we've been so accustomed to coaches trying to climb and leave that's how, you've conditioned yourself in this sport. Luke Fickell's got 6 kids. One of them's now on his roster as a scholarship offensive lineman. His family's happy here. He's never really left Ohio. Are there jobs Luke Fickell would leave for? Absolutely. But that number, I think, is really, really small. I mean, Ohio State, yes. Notre Dame, yes. Could maybe Penn State convince him? Possibly, but I don't know that, Happy Valley has the private schooling and the things that his wife would be looking for. His wife was a big reason that they turned down Michigan State because she just didn't see what the family, kind of desired in East Lansing. As long as they can continue to show him that they are progressing in the athletic department and that they're taking steps forward, the next step is going to be a true indoor practice facility that they're already talking about to donors and starting to plan and raise money for. As long as it feels like that he has the support of the athletic department and the community, I think it's going to be pretty hard to get him out of here. It's going to have to be a really, really good situation. And the community's been very lucky because Luke Fickell, even though he's from Columbus, is very much a Cincinnati guy. and this city has fallen in love with him pretty fast. It doesn't hurt that they've won 31 games in 3 years, though. I'll give you that.
I want to go on record. I want Cincinnati, Memphis, if there's any additions. Those are two cities I want to cultivate. I mean, here's somebody that just put, I know you want to follow up, Paul, on the chat line. Cincinnati, the metro, is over 2 million. Waco's 260,000, but the problem is right now Waco's still on the inside looking out, where others are bigger are on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Chad, just comparatively to Luke Fickell, what are your memories of now Senator Tommy Tuberville?
Tommy was very good to me, so I'm not going to say anything bad. I do think that there is a different level of work you have to put in at a place that's on the rise. And he had never really been at a place that was on the rise. When you really dig into it, here's where I think Tommy got himself in trouble. When he first got to Cincinnati, he had a really good staff. And Tommy's kind of a CEO coach. I mean, he would come over in the middle of practice and stand and talk to us media guys for like 40 minutes about whatever, my assistant coaches have got it. I'm going to, be Tommy Tuberville and go hang out. Well, as he started losing coaches, he lost Steve Klinkscale and his name's escaping me. He just got let go as the offense, Eddie Gran, Kentucky. And as he lost guys, he replaced them with great assistants and guys that didn't have a whole lot of experience and didn't really fit with, if you're going to be a CEO head coach, you better have veteran assistants. And as he got younger and younger on the assistant side, he never really stepped up his, day-to-day operation to make those guys better. And that's why you saw, they won 9 games his first year, 9 games his second year. Then they're at 6 or 7 wins that third year before it completely fell off a cliff. But if you were paying attention to the details, that's, I think, where Tommy got himself in a lot of trouble, is he did not keep a close eye on the fact that you're 1 or 2 seasons at the level Cincinnati's at, you're 1 or 2 seasons from falling off a cliff. And he walked right off of it and didn't realize it was happening.
Well, he has an easier job now. He doesn't
much easier now.
Yeah,
I always thought he fit that role he's in now, and again, he's had success at places he's been. But think about the last 5 head coaches: Mark D'Antonio and where he is, Brian Kelly, Butch Jones is at Liberty now, right? And I know he's been up and down around wherever he's
Arkansas State.
Arkansas State, I'm sorry, which is a hell of a football team, and they're dangerous when you get them on the non-conference schedule. Tommy Tuberville and Luke Fickell, they've done well. And that's why you said that's why they've been more relevant. I
started in the middle of the D'Antonio era. So I've been here through almost all of it, and it's been especially when you consider Bob Huggins was the basketball coach for almost 20 years, and then Mick Cronin was here for 13, and the John Brandon era didn't really work. But there's been so much stability on the basketball side, but on football, it's just been a constant kind of churn of guys moving up the ladder or becoming a politician.
Hey, Chad, thank you. Are you concerned about the future of what might be with those who are not the haves and the have-not in college football?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I think you have to be because, again, it's a very high-stakes game of musical chairs. Cincinnati has been in a position where the music stopped and they didn't have a spot. So they are well aware that they have to get this one right. And I think that's why you saw such a commitment when they got left out the last time, that we've got to show these people that when the music starts playing again, we've got a landing spot. We've got a place that can keep us fighting, keep us relevant as this thing moves forward. If they end without a landing spot again, if the music stops and they don't have a chair, it is personally, as a business owner, I'm terrified of what it means because, I've spent a lot of time building this thing, and I can't imagine. The good news is I think they're in as good a position as anybody can possibly be for the teams that are looking for a spot.
It's a great way to put it. It's not just what Cincinnati football or the university or whoever, the alumni, the base, whatever, but also even the businesses in your particular case when you cover Bearcat football and sports. Thanks for your time, Chad. Great stuff. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me. Call me anytime.
Yes, and hopefully we call you maybe down the road if there's something that's even a glimmer of hope of what might change, if anything. Chad Brindle, Bearcat Journal, 247 Sports. I think we can relate to what he just said. The fact that we started this new show back in April of 2020 at the start in the teeth of COVID, and who knew what was going on. And here we are now a year and a half later. A YouTube channel has exploded because of the great audience we have. And yeah, I mean, honestly, if Baylor is no longer a Power 5, it does possibly change how many eyeballs we have or how many people are a part of what SicEm365.com, which has become the place to go for Baylor information as well. All right, when we come back, we wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. Mickey Spagnuolo from Canton, Ohio. The Cowboys and Steelers tonight, NFL preseason football. The Hall of Fame weekend that's coming up as well. Can any of you on the text line or on the YouTube chat room, first person to tell me the number, it depends on where you live because I have some certificates, hamburgers, things like that. How many Hall of Fame football players have won the Heisman Trophy? Don't say it. You know? Write it down. Craig, you write it down. Armstrong, Marquise, you guys write it down. First person to get it right, 254-339-1122, text line and chat room. I'll try to figure out, even if it's like a SicEm365 t-shirt, how many Hall of Famers in Pro Football's Hall of Fame have also won the Heisman Trophy. This is SicEm365 Radio.
The First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations right here at home. Waco, Woodway, Hewitt, China Spring, Mart, and Hillsboro. Familiar faces making local decisions, here to help you, your family, and your business. Whether it's great times or tough times, all of us need a bank we can count on. Great people with great technology dedicated to their customers and helping our area grow. Safe banking in person or use their online and mobile apps and convenient drive-thrus and ATMs at all locations. They've got great products like the First Free Checking, no minimum monthly balance, no monthly service charge, unlimited check writing, and unlimited debit card purchases. It's the First National Bank of Central Texas, 5 locations right here at home.
Make this the summer sales event is going on now at Allen Samuels with the all-new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Now arriving and in stock, this beautiful, rugged third-row seat carries the prestigious Jeep heritage. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited. You pick. Have total values of $2,750 or 0% for 48 months, plus $1,000 in bonus cash. Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
The thing about having a naked truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work. And Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
There's a documentary coming out. Tim Brown is the one that is kind of launching this. And he called around many of the people who have played at the levels of greatness in college and pro football. I called everyone, I asked a question. You know how many there are? 9 guys to win the Heisman, also to be a part of the Hall of Fame. Paul, I want you to count these names out, though. All right?
Okay.
We'll start this again. 9. Doak Walker.
Okay.
Paul Hornung.
Uh-huh.
Roger Staubach, O.J. Simpson, Tony Dorsett, Earl Campbell, Marcus Allen, Tim Brown, Barry Sanders, and Charles Woodson.
That sounds like 11 to me.
It's 10.
Oh, 10.
And they're going to have a documentary.
I guess Charles Woodson would be 10 this weekend.
Yes, this weekend.
Yeah.
The Perfect 10 is what the documentary is going to be called. It's going to get a 90-minute documentary.
But it's currently 9.
But it's currently 9. That's exactly right, Armstrong. And we had a bucket load of you that threw out various answers to the question. And the first one to get to 9 was, is it Wild Bear?
I believe it was a Wild Bear.
Wild Bear. Some of you said 12, 17. There was 10. David on text, a few others on text. But Wild Bear, based on the timeline, was the first one to come up with 9. And so Wild Bear, how do I get him? He's on the chat room. How can I get him? Text me. Text the station, and then I'll get your information where you might live. I don't know. You might live in, like, Phoenix. 254-339-1122. Wild Bear, give me some contact information. We'll get something to you.
Matt from Mississippi, Charles Woodson is the only Heisman winner in the Hall of Fame. Damn, I was way off.
I'll tell you, on the text line, Scotty B was one of the first to put up 9, but not ahead of the chat room. David had 10, among others. Yeah, I was way off.
Look, and look, it's not 10 until tomorrow night, which will be the Gold Jacket Dinner. And I will tell you this, if you're a football fan and you want to go to an amazing event, the Gold Jacket Dinner the night before the Hall of Fame, forget about the induction ceremony. The best event of the weekend is the Gold Jacket Dinner, because if you are a football fan of any note, your
jaw will be broken from it dropping.
I mean, the way they just announce every Hall of Famer that's there, and it's just. I was there for LaDainian Tomlinson and Jerry Jones induction a few years ago, and it was, here's Roger Staubach and John Riggins, and I mean, it's
a who's who. By the way, Timothy Vermeer, David Glover, among others, Mark Tharp, Benjamin Wells. I want to give you guys credit as well. Patrick Nelson. All of you had 9 as well, but not quite ahead of the curve. Red Wine 65, 9. So, and there's others as well, but those are some of the first ones. How about that? 10. And Charles Woodson's being entered, this weekend? Mm-hmm. And that makes 10. And Tim Brown's going to be, as part of a documentary, you can go to at Vic Tafur. It's TAFUR on Twitter. And he has a story up. It's in theathletic.com if, in fact, you also are a part of that as well. All right? So, when we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, we'll continue with phone calls, questions, comments, opinions on the text line, the chat room, and also the calls as well.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning that Baylor's got a decommit here in the last hour or so to update our Baylor audience, our day ones. Caleb Douglas, wide receiver, announced a little while ago that he is decommitted from Baylor. Said, the typical notes app posting that all these guys do to make some announcement, get on their phone on the notes app and then post it up. So he said, pretty much what they all say, great relationships and thanks and blah, blah, blah. But basically he's decommitted. So Caleb Douglas, you can subtract one from Baylor's recruiting class. Not sure if another school's come into play or what the case may be for him. But, just a note on Baylor recruiting. And look, their class is almost filled. They obviously want Caleb Douglas. I'm sure they're not going to stop recruiting him. But, they only have a select few spots available. So maybe a little bit more wiggle room is not such a bad thing. And maybe he ends up back at Baylor when all is said and done. But there's just a note.
Did we have him on? I think we did. Yeah, great kid. Good luck to him. We really wish him the best of luck from down in the Houston area. So his thing is wide open again. Now, when we come back, the 4 o'clock hour includes Mickey from Canton, Ohio. We just mentioned the Hall of Fame. Again, Wild Bear, 254-339-1122. Text me so I can try to find a way to maybe just, I don't know, you may live in 8 states away, but we'll take care of you if we possibly can. Thank you for subscribing to SicEm365, 365 Sports on YouTube. Also, the chat line has blown up. Armstrong, has it ever beaten the 14 chats a minute for 3 consecutive hours?
I don't know. I haven't checked in the past couple of days.
And then, of course, the text line from the beginning, 254-339-1122. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Sports betting season is in full force. NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs just wrapped up, but that doesn't mean there's not stuff to bet on because football season is here, guys. It's tonight. The Hall of Fame game starts. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS. You may already know this about BetUS, but they've been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades and paying their loyal customer base. That is BetUS.com. They've got loads of bonuses. Join now or call 800-69-BET-US. That's 800-MY-BET-US. You receive 125% sign-up bonus by using the bonus code SicEm125. That's SicEm125. They have re-up and referral bonuses also. BetUS is known as America's favorite sports book for a lot of reasons. They've got all your NFL, NBA, NHL, team and player props, loads of NFL futures, NFL odds up already. You can bet on UFC matches and props, PGA golf, round matchups, live betting on most sports, including golf, and the online casino has hundreds of games, and the race book has all your horse tracks. They have every bet type imaginable, and the Sharp Bet US mobile platform is easy with full betting options. So follow their lead, get on your phone, online social sports betting partner with integrity and longevity. BetUS, you bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SicEm125.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Here's Elliott. He will get it. Touchdown Dallas as Elliott fought for it and has his 6th of the year.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, a lot of you are going back and forth on the Heisman question. There are 9 currently inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Charles Woodson will make 10. Also, by the way, that there was, and made me look it up because he won a couple of Super Bowls, but just year in and year out, despite that, Jim Plunkett, Heisman Trophy winner at Stanford, but Rookie of the Year with the Patriots, won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders, but not a Pro Football Hall of Famer. There's debate about that quite a bit along the way. Tom Flores, by the way, is about to go in, and we love that. We've had him on a couple of different times.
Yeah, he's Jim Plunkett is going to be one of those guys who gets onto the Veterans Committee, and our listener who said that is going to be like people are going to be like, Jim Plunkett's not in? Because I think most people would probably think he's in, but he's not. And it's a hard thing to get in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And this class is massive because they use the anniversary to kind of clean up some of the stuff that had fallen through the cracks. For example, Drew Pearson, Cliff Harris, guys like that. Harold Carmichael, all those going in. So I guess, or was Harold Carmichael in the last one? But either way, there are guys who fell through the cracks, and it'll be back in a year to being what it normally was, where it's going to be 5 to 7 guys a year, and 2 of them might not be alive.
But that's coming up, and so and they're going to slam in about how many are 40? Seemed like it's maybe more than that into the weekend as well. So a lot of people love the Cincinnati segment. lot of you are on the text line, whatever, as well, talking about the Cincinnati commitment as well. 254-339-1122, the text line open, chat room open. And now there's this continuing stadium side. One of my arguments about the remaining 8 that I hear when I hear that, well, they're not good enough, or most of them understand their story. If you're 5'10", Paul, I don't want to. If you're 5'10", you wish you were 6'1", maybe. Maybe you like to be 5'10". I'm 5'10 and a half, and I put the half in there to make me. I am 5'10 and a half, but I'd like to be 6'1". Craig's a little bit taller, just over 6 feet. Maybe he wants to be 6'4". Maybe but you are who you are. And I've seen a little bit of this is, well, why didn't the remaining 8 teams do more? TCU, Kansas State, Baylor have beaten the teams that are leaving, not consistently. Some of them have. TCU has. Baylor's 5-5 the last 10 years. They've lost 4 of the last 5. They could do only with what they could do. But if you're an enrollment of 10,000 like TCU or 18,000 like Baylor, you're not going to be a 30,000 enrollment school. You are who you are. Your stadiums are basically who you are as an alumni base, where you're located, and also a lot of times maybe success as well. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
you can't change who you are. Just like I asked one of the guys on the chat room, how tall are you? I'm 5'10". Why aren't you 6'2"? Because that's kind of the same argument.
You especially can't change what you are if you don't know that it needs to change. If the whole conference isn't being honest with you about how they feel about how things are going. And that's what was going on with the Big 12, is that Texas and Oklahoma had certain feelings about the way things were and didn't tell anybody that and then left. I mean, I think that's where the confusion comes in from a lot of teams in the Big 12 was like, yeah, we know a lot of these things, but, why didn't we at least sit down and have a conversation about it? They didn't have it. It was just like, hey, guys, we're leaving. That's it. We're out the door.
They didn't even say that. They said that Brent Zwerneman's report was basically true, is what they said. I mean, he was the one that said it. And, for anybody, I was talking about Texas earlier or whatever. I've said on this show dozens of times at this point, I don't slight those schools for going and doing what they did. I don't slight those schools for leaving. Others can get in the minutia of how they did it or whatever. But, yeah, it was basically, if Brent Zwerneman doesn't break that report, then OU and Texas are like completely out of nowhere just leaving the Big 12. And that's where I have the issue with it, is that the Big 12 was so in the dark about it that, they were about to get the surprise of a lifetime, and Brent Zwerneman just happened to sneak in there a few days earlier to tip them off, basically.
Well, we still may not know. I mean, because if they had gotten to keep their secret, maybe it wouldn't have been legally feasible or right for them to do it even at this point.
Yeah, but, I mean, they're doing what they're doing, and, now as we talk to guys from, like, Cincinnati and whatnot, everybody else got to figure out what they're going to do. I mean, the writing's on the wall. It's just a timeline thing now at this point. The only question we really don't know about Oklahoma and Texas is just when they're going to go. Is it going to be after this year? Is this the final year of the Big 12 as we know it, or is it going to be the end of the grant of rights like they're saying in the media, but I don't believe for 1 second. I don't believe a single word that Chris Del Conte says or anybody else talking about, we're going to live out our obligations. I don't believe that.
That's legal talk because it needs to be.
Yeah,
they're protecting themselves too, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, I mean they got to do what they got to do. Again, I'm not going to diss them for making the move, but yeah, the secretive part of it I think is what kind of leaves people reeling, because I understand the high and mighty feeling that you have versus schools like Baylor and TCU. They're not on your level as far as finances go and things like that, but. You were just going to completely just leave in the middle of the night. Dad's going to get cigarettes. He'll be right back, and then just never comes home. That was the OU and Texas plan, basically. So that's where some schools and some fan bases are rubbed the wrong way. But I think everybody understands the motivation and doesn't slight them for that. It's more or less how it happened. But again, it doesn't even matter how it happened at this point. It's now what's next, because you can't dwell on what's occurred. Now you've had time to drink it in and reflect on it and figure some things out, and now it's all about moving forward for all 8 of these schools and for Texas and Oklahoma as well.
From Christopher Like, who's also in the media. Hi, Christopher, how you doing? The Fox TV contract with the noon 11 o'clock window is one of the big reasons this SEC is being made. Fact is, nobody wants to play in that window no matter what conference you play in. And then Oklahoma has kind of made that point along the way. I got a question for you, and this is from somebody who's a UT fan that just put this up. If Texas had won a national championship in 2009, and we know that they played Alabama, Colt McCoy went out, they lost the game, we know the story. But what if they had won 3 or 4 Big 12 titles and been in the playoff in any of the last 10 years, let's say twice? Would this still happen?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because then
if Oklahoma had won, and the many chances they've had since 2000 when they won it with Bob Stoops' second year, had they won a couple of times in the national championship picture in the last 12 or 14 years, let's say 10 or 12 years, would this be happening?
I don't know. I think it might still be because of the fact that clearly the SEC is just a different animal. And bottom line is, everybody talks about, well, what about this school or what about that school or what about this scenario, what about that scenario? And I love talking about all that, but bottom line is it all comes down to money. So I think they might have been making this move regardless, especially with the uncertainty of, grant of rights and kind of what the future is going to look like with streaming or, whoever else gets involved. And clearly OU and Texas are very much in the pocket of ESPN. So I think this was all bound to happen eventually. And, you look at Oklahoma and Texas, and I don't believe for 1 second they didn't see what A&M's been able to do the last few years and then go, well, we can't have this. Like we can't have them having this. Not that they were specifically thinking about A&M, but they saw A&M and what happened as a result of their move and said, "Whoa, we want to do that too." So I think that was still, a decision that was going to be made ultimately. But it might have dragged it out a little bit longer. We certainly wouldn't be hearing, fans complaining about, well, this conference stinks and nobody ever, it's not fun or whatever people want to say. I think they'd feel a lot better about themselves if there was a couple national title trophies extra in those cases. And why would you, as much as the money thing, as much as the money thing would probably be the ultimate factor, I do think if you're Oklahoma and you actually win one of like the 7 appearances you've had since 2000 that you've fallen every time, maybe it's 5, but regardless, that's a lot. Then, if you win a couple of those, then maybe you stay pat, even though the money's good on the other side because you've made so much money because you've won a couple national titles.
And the conference is more valuable.
And the conference is more valuable, and the brands are all bigger as a result.
The other thing, it's hard to tell your fans, like, hey, we're going to go here because this isn't working for us when you're like, well, you've got a couple of rings here.
Yeah, why would you?
Seems to be working because money or not. Like, Craig, you make a good point about fans bragging about money. The minute that they would stop caring about the money is if they're like, look, we're going to make this move and we might be less likely to win one of those shiny things that you guys like, but we're going to make more money. Like, no, we don't care about the money. We want the shiny thing.
I think we blame this on Nick Saban for creating such an amazing decade-long massive dynasty along the way that's made the SEC as great as it is. And I know it's not just them, but boy, they have made it amazing. Joey Mayorga from San Antonio is the one that answered the Hall of Fame Heisman Trophy question in San Antonio, Texas. Joey, I'm back and forth with you on the text. Thanks for the 806. Love the honest, unbiased show. A lot of people would disagree with you, but thank you very much. The 801 Hurst here. Oklahoma and Texas have obviously had this plan for a long time, because I'm convinced this whole thing is the reason why they were primary schools who refused the conference expansion. And we've kind of discussed that along the way, and thanks, Hurst, for listening to the show. Here's from the SEC, then a call. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's what I was saying earlier for the Texas fan that was, saying whatever he said. That was my whole thing as well, and what we said earlier as far as that goes is, fully agree.
Yeah, I'm in an SEC country here, Louisiana, LSU fan, but as a college sports fan, if the Big 12 disbands, where do you see Baylor going? Wouldn't it help Baylor to schedule schools like LSU, Alabama, Notre Dame to help their brand around the country? Well, we know their non-conference schedule has been awful, and it's better now. It would have been Ole Miss to start last year. An SEC team would have been fun, although last year they probably would have gotten their teeth kicked in. But under normal circumstances, who knows? This year it's Brigham Young, and then there's the Utahs and the Auburns and the Oregons along the way. So they are beefing that up, and it's about time. And it just took a change in philosophy and also in the administration from AD, president, football coach, and whatever else.
Right. Here's what we know about scheduling. Scheduling's pretty hard to get done. It takes two to do it. Although we do know from last year that it's not as hard as they've made it. If you just kind of can cut through some of the BS. But
you mean they don't have to schedule something 15 years out to make sure that it works in the long run? No, there's no need to do that.
That policy is probably going to change in the more modern era of college football eventually. But we'll see how that goes. Howard in Oregon, you're on the BetUS caller line. You SicEm Pro promo code SicEm125 and go to BetUS.com.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey Howard.
Hey, what's up? I think I'm gonna write a book on my afternoons with the Smokes and Paul. That's what I'm gonna do. Hey, I got I want to talk to the Cincinnati critics. Ohio is a football crazy state. they got Massillon, which is one of the most iconic high school football teams in the country. And I'm sitting here in my backyard looking at a Lindy Sports College Football Preview magazine. I get it every year. And number 8 is Cincinnati, and number 7, that's their top 10, is Iowa State. So that kind of ends that discussion, you know, when a number 8 team is on the top 10 in Lindy's, you know, to me they're pretty darn good. And I wanted to talk about the BYU guy that you had on that was saying that the Sunday games were like negotiable. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think that's true, actually. And I can give you a personal example about that. I went to Drake University, and then I transferred in '68 to the University of Arizona, and BYU was in the WAC. And I used to go to the basketball games at Bear Down Gym, and I used to go to the football games at Arizona Stadium. But I'll use the Bear Down Gym thing. At the time when BYU, and I'm talking about 1968, would come to Bear Down Gym to play the Cats in basketball, there'd be all kinds of pickets outside. And the reason was not playing on Sunday football. The reason was, and this has nothing, you know, I hope you guys hear me through on this because this is the truth. They weren't allowing African Americans to be priests in their church, and they had no black athletes at the time. And people were protesting it, and it got so intense in the late 60s that the president of the Mormon Church actually had a vision that blacks should be allowed to be priests in the Mormon Church, and he took it to the hierarchy. Most religions are political anyways, in my opinion. And they finally okayed that, and you started to see black athletes on BYU's teams, basketball and football. So when that guy said that, you know, that's non-negotiable, I don't believe that. I mean, it would depend a lot upon the BYU fans, the donor base, the people in Provo, the people in Utah. I think that they would maybe bend on that if the pressure was tough enough on that thing. You know, everything's negotiable. You know, they might not, but I think, you know, that was my experience with BYU bending, you know. I remember seeing all those protests outside of Bear Down Gym, you know, and that was a pretty big deal. So who knows? I mean, who knows how that would, you know, play out. But that's just one thing that I noticed with them. And, yeah, that was the breakup of the old border conference that, you know, we used to play Texas Tech all the time, and they used to kick our butts in football. And we formed the WAC, and they went to the Southwest Conference at that time. And, yeah, I just wanted to tell you that story when he says, you know, things aren't negotiable. As you guys know, everything's negotiable.
Well, it did, and Howard, thanks for your call. It did take 10 years, though. It was 1978 when the Mormon Church started allowing minority, not just black people, but anybody that wasn't white into their church. So it did take 10 years from 68 to 78. So it's not like it's going to happen overnight. You know, they might have been malleable, but it took 10 years and 100 years of their religion plus.
From the 440 area code. This is from Mike in Warren, Ohio. The ESPNers will never allow a group of 5 school to move into a power conference. They want the opposite. They want 4 16-team power conferences, and there's already 64 of those Power 5s, not including what you call Notre Dame and, of course, Brigham Young, which are a part of that equation. ESPN wants 4 16-team super conferences. So we're talking a lot about Cincinnati or UCF or whatever, but if they want that, the last thing they want then with any of the Power 5s, if they remain 5 power conferences, is adding those who they don't want. And that's the kind of, that's like, they're now the college football commissioner, ESPN.
Yeah, and that's what.
And that's why, along with many other reasons, they need somebody that's kind of like the college football czar.
Yeah. I have needed it for a long time. By the way, the top 5 will be on this topic today.
I always do that. I don't even, you and I never talk. We don't like each other.
It's fine.
And
It's
so
fine.
I tease things for you. I don't get credit for it, but I do because it makes sense. Mickey Spagnola will join us today, by the way, at 4:30 from Canton, Ohio.
By the way, on the text line, hello again from Ethan, living in the Dakotas. So there we go. I get to check another one off the map.
Another state that,
well, I mean, he said the Dakotas. Does that mean I can count both? Since there really shouldn't be 2.
What do you mean?
There should just be one Dakota.
Virginia and West Virginia.
Yeah, it should be. There should be just one Dakota.
No, there's 2.
I know there's 2.
And one of them has North Dakota State. That's a pretty incredible football program.
But yeah, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check South Dakota.
No, not North though. Okay,
But
good.
not North. I'll just pick one.
From the
Dakota.
806 is Texas and Oklahoma. If they leave, and they will. If they leave in 2022, would ESPN and Fox still be obligated to play the full price of the remaining 8 schools? Or would it be a reduced rate? No, that contract is through 24-25. As long as the conference holds together, which of course some people, about 50% say they will, and 50% probably think they won't.
They have to have at least.
And there's some that hope they don't.
5 teams, Craig.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know the struggling today. I don't know the exact number. I know it's like half of the number that it is. I don't know if they can get all the way down to 4, but I know that they could lose a couple more and be fine. Based on what I read last week. Now, there's been so many articles. I don't know if somebody's shed some more light on that or what, but yeah, my understanding was they could lose at least 2 more, and I think they could maybe even get down to like 4 and still be able to hang together, but I don't know that. I do know they can afford to lose more teams. I just don't know what the exact number is, but it's at least a couple more. That would be wild to see a 6-team conference, but then again, I think that if a couple schools leave based on what I was reading, that their buyouts might be significantly lower because there would be less teams that you are having to pay, on your way out because Oklahoma and Texas are already gone, so their buyouts might not necessarily be, the $100 whatever million that OU and Texas are going to have to pay in total. But yeah, they can afford some more. It's just, man, if you get down to like 4 or 6, what is that going to look like? And how are you even going to have, you'd have to have 6 non-conference games to fill out a schedule. And I don't know how doable that is. So yeah, that is not what you want to have to deal with. But as soon as a Kansas or a West Virginia gets that phone call, that you better be ready for the possibilities of it. That's for sure.
There's a lot more. I guess a lot of it has to do with that conversation with Bob Bowlesby and the Pac-12 commissioner and what they're doing. If you cannot help your conference now, if there's not opportunities to truly find a way to give networks a reason to want to give you more money, one of the things is this thing. Kind of, you hear about these words and terminology that it's like COVID. I'd never heard of it, or maybe Zoom for a long time, and The scheduling alliance, we've seen that in basketball, right? Mm-hmm. The SEC Big 12 challenge. We've seen that. And in football, have we really ever seen that?
Not really, no.
That it's actually, you take 10, 12, 6, whatever schools, because a lot of times conferences are different sizes, but you take them and you play against another conference in basketball. It happens all the time. Not everyone can do it, though. Can you do that? And is there a value to a network if the Pac-12 and whatever's left of the Big 12, which includes, by the way, and if they do that with the Pac-12, let's say in 2022, and what if Texas and Oklahoma are still a part of the conference? They can't force those 2 teams to be a part of that, can they?
As long as they're part of the conference, I guess they could. They still have to be part of the conference. Their contract doesn't run out until 24-25.
But their schedules are loaded.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't do it in 2022.
It would have to be after, if there is when there are defections.
Yeah, they couldn't
right?
do it. They couldn't do it.
You can't just say, hey, Texas and Oklahoma. First of all, they would tell you to F off. We know that, right? Because that's what they do. And that's okay. Their schedules, and they have a pretty good non-conference schedule, not the greatest, but oh my God, Texas starts with Alabama next year. Yeah. They'll start, I don't know, but they have them on the schedule. Those 2 teams, and God, can you imagine the meltdown if the University of Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns, beat the Horns this year early?
Yeah, I can. I think about it a lot, actually.
Stop. See, that's where you feed the hatred.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care.
That you stay up at night?
I don't care.
Do you sleep and think about it, dream about it?
I mean, like sometimes I just wake up and think about funny things that could happen.
I'm still wondering about that one year. I'm driving to McLean Stadium for Baylor. I think they're about to lose to Liberty, for God's sakes. And Texas and Maryland were playing. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And it was like Maryland looked like they were.
Well, Maryland beat them.
Yeah. Twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it looked like they were better. I mean, it was shocking because of the defense that UT during those times. Let's see. Sebastian Matson. Imagine if the SEC was behind Maryland, leaving their conference for purely monetary reasons, ending their rivalries with Duke and Virginia.
Well, the ACC, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they were. I mean, they were scrambling when that happened because they were confused as to what was going on. I mean, they didn't want anybody to leave. I mean, leaving, even if it's Maryland and also ran in a lot of sports, they were really good in basketball for a long time. They had a good runner, Ralph Friesian, in football. But, I don't think conferences are like trying to talk people into leaving. I mean, just because it's so much harder to find someone to come in. And then, what happened with the Big East was kind of fortunate for the ACC in that they were able to rate it with Pittsburgh and Syracuse and others. But, I don't think they want people to leave.
6 to 8 weeks ago from the 864, Arch Manning, hell of a quarterback, got kind of a lineage there, visited Texas and Steve Sarkisian. And I said then Texas was wasting their time, that Granddad Archie would never let Arch leave the SEC. Do you think the Mannings were given advanced information even then?
No.
Joe Fulmer from Greenville, South Carolina. Joe, thanks for the text.
No, I don't think they were given advanced information. If you're the University of Texas, where apparently 3 or 4 people knew about this, Chris Del Conte, their school president, Jay Hartzell, and maybe 1 or 2 other people. I mean, that's it. I don't think you're telling some high school recruit.
No matter if he's Peyton Manning's nephew or not.
I don't care who it is. It could be Reggie Bush incarnate and, all that. You're not telling and tipping off a high school kid, as flimsy as they are, just with their commitments, period. I mean, we see Caleb Douglas today, just, being committed, all of a sudden he decommits, and that's fine. I'm not slighting him, but, I'm sure about 2 months ago he had a really super strong relationship with the Baylor coaches, and, now he's got something else that's enticing him, which is fine. That's recruiting, but I mean, if you were Dave Aranda, were you going to tell Caleb Douglas, some super secret like that, knowing full well that you don't know he's even going to sign? Absolutely not. So no, you're not tipping those guys off or tipping anyone off, because you just can't trust anybody else. That's why they were able to keep the secret, was they didn't tell hardly anyone.
And that's what you have to do on something like that. I mean, you got to have an inner circle.
But I will say that now they can talk to Arch Manning and say, like, hey, we're going to be in the SEC. And, it's just, I don't know what they tell him as far as the timeline goes, because based on the timeline right now, it would be, like his senior year by the time that they were even in the SEC. So I don't know what kind of a pull that would be, unless they do make an earlier move, and then they could use that and say, hey, if you just want to play in the Big 12 for a year, and then we'll be in the SEC. I don't know. I mean,
he may not play the first year, although he's obviously
and he might not. But, they definitely didn't tip him off to anything.
On Maryland, David Livingston, Maryland had a huge deficit. They left for the Big Ten just so they could make up the debt. And they
have. And
and they're getting $50+ million a year.
I mean, that's like the buyout money. I saw where some various reporters were talking about the buyout money that Oklahoma and Texas would owe, and then turned right around to say, like, it would take, 2 or 3 years based on SEC payouts to pay that off. So, I mean, again, it all goes back to finances. Like, I mean, there's not a lot to this, It's all about money. It's all it's about. It's not about affiliation and, all of that, because if the ACC was offering what the SEC is, Texas would go to the ACC. It's not about the SEC per se. I think, in this particular case, it is to an extent, but ultimately, for anybody, it's all about the money, and they just happen to be the ones that have by far the most right now, along with the Big Ten. So,
Timothy Vermeer, by the way, last year, Ragin' Cajuns 31. I forgot. This is who stunned Iowa State, and I mean, look better doing it. And I'm telling you, some of these FCS teams they're better, and a lot of them are dangerous as hell.
They're an FBS team.
Yeah, no,
Louisiana's. They're FBS.
No, that's right. Yeah, okay, but I mean, these teams, these non-conference games, there are not many games. It's like the NCAA tournament. You see those first-round shockers, and then you see ones that are 83-48. But I'm telling you, you got to be careful who you put on that non-conference schedule. That'll be interesting. Texas and Louisiana's good. They're pretty good. That'll be a good test off the top.
Billy Napier was a Baylor head coaching candidate, and they went with Dave Aranda, but he was definitely somebody that they were apparently interested in. I think a lot of other schools have been. I'm not sure what his preference is, kind of like you guessed about Luke Fickell and whatnot and where he's going to go and everything. I don't know what Billy Napier's overall plans are, much about his how he's considered by, those in the industry and everything, but he's a damn good football coach, that's for sure. And he's made Louisiana legit.
Yeah. Owen in Virginia, you're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Thank y'all. I actually just discovered y'all a few weeks ago, and I've been listening to y'all ever since, all this stuff happened with Oklahoma and Texas. So really excited to be on. I'm a huge West Virginia fan, so go Mountaineers. But I was just wondering, out of all the teams with the Pac-12 and Big 12 merger, if those teams don't get into another group of five like Baylor, Texas Tech, West Virginia, Kansas State, Iowa State, which of those teams do you think would go independent before they would go to a group of five?
That's a really good and interesting question, because you got to wonder who would have the financial wherewithal to do it. And I don't know if anybody would, because look, I know that there's a couple of independent schools, BYU, but they're in a conference in every sport but football. They're Army is, and I guess Navy's in the AAC right now.
Yeah, they're in the AAC.
Yeah, so Navy's in the AAC. So there's not many. I mean, there's very few like Notre Dame that can just have their own self-sustaining economy. And I don't know if that's the, I think Texas could have if they wanted to, and then that's the question you asked. But
somebody
that's
just mentioned, in fact, they said when they had the Longhorn Network launch, and of course everyone the hair's on fire, and we know what that led to, that might have been a time right then. They were still pretty fresh off of how good they were in 2009, that they could have possibly looked at because of the market, the alumni base and all that, the eyeballs, that maybe they could go independent. USC, I've heard them a lot. Well, it's a private school.
Ryan Abraham mentioned that yesterday.
That they might have enough of that national brand to try to do that, but that's a dangerous thing if it doesn't work.
Craig, I don't think anybody could of the 8 that really without taking a huge hit.
No. I mean, unless you went the Liberty route, and the only problem with that is that Baylor and TCU, I think that in theory they could do that, but Liberty is just so massive. Liberty has a massive, like UCF with their online enrollment and all that. So. I don't think there's a good candidate. Baylor's brand name doesn't carry enough weight to be able to, in my opinion. I mean, not that Liberty does, but again, Liberty's just so massive. It's so big, and it's got so much money behind it. Baylor's got some money, but it's still 10,000 students basically, maybe 12. I mean, so it's a small school, but I don't think any of them can. I mean, Iowa State, no. K-State, no. Kansas, no. I mean, we go down the list. They're all no's. So, no, I mean,
there's not even one that makes me think about whether they could be independent, with all due respect.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if Baylor had a giant online enrollment or something of 20,000 people, and maybe, just maybe they would have a chance, but I don't see it. I think you got to be kind of unique like Liberty is, or, the service academies, et cetera.
West Virginia from Patrick P. Nelson. This is what I love about the audience we have, is that there's history that sometimes we might forget about or overlook. West Virginia was independent. They were for a long time, including 1968 to 1990.
Yeah. But see, that's
Florida State was independent for a while.
They were, but then the times have changed now.
When did they join the ACC?
In 91 or something like that, 92.
So they joined the ACC before they won their national titles?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. For some reason, I would have probably missed that. I would have thought maybe 90. Well, they won in 99, and then they won again in 13. When was the year with your buddy Jameis?
Yeah, 93, 99, and 13.
I thought they might have been independent one of those years, but I guess not. That's a long time ago. I didn't know that they joined the ACC that far back. 254-339-1122. Paul, you got anything else?
No.
All right.
Let's go to break for Mickey.
Pittsburgh was independent. Miami, of course, was independent. We know, there used to be a nice chunk of them. You used to look in the newspaper back before the internet, and they'd have all the conferences. Of course, some of them, a lot of them have been nuked. And then you'd have the independents. There'd be a big chunk of teams that were independent in football. When we come back, we go into Canton, Ohio. The preseason NFL season starts tonight. Cowboys and Steelers. I went over to the convenience store on the way over here, and 3 guys arguing about who's going to win the game between the Cowboys and Steelers.
Doesn't matter.
I don't even know if that's something to argue about. But I love it that they're ready for NFL football, even if it's the preseason. Mickey from Canton, Ohio is next on SicEm365 Radio. Italian quality pizza. Fresh made dough. It's the way it should be, right? Pizza lovers get it. Marco's Pizza, Italian-American cuisine. First store opened in Oregon. We get Howard that calls us from Oregon. Actually, Oregon, Ohio, so I missed that. In 1978 by one of Paul's long-lost relatives. Marcos.com online. Hot deals online everywhere. Authentic Italian pizza, 1,000 stores nationwide. Fresh made dough, as I mentioned. Original sauce from day one. 3 signature cheeses on every pizza. And also take advantage of the great deals for delivery or carryout. Menu includes pizza, subs, wings, salads, cheesy bread. Also pizza bowls and brownies. Among the unusual specialty pizzas, chicken Florentine, pepperoni magnifico, chicken fresco, spicy fresco, double pepperoni, spicy fresco pizzas. My favorite's just straight up the all-meat pizza. Thin crust, and I'm stunned that Armstrong hasn't started drooling. As I mentioned, Marcos.com with 3 locations in Waco, China Spring, Bell Mead, and Woodway.
Hi, Mark Stewart here with Bird Colgin Ford. Score big with midway football and Ford trucks. It's time to catch football fever and find the perfect Ford truck for your next tailgating party. The Ford F-150 has been America's #1 selling truck for 44 years, and Bird Colgin Ford has the perfect truck for you to drive to your next football game. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the many truck choices at Bird Colgin Ford. Visit us anytime at bkford.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi,
this is Danning at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
All right, 4:37. Tonight, the NFL kicks off their preseason schedule. I said this, Mickey, a minute ago. I was at a convenience store on the way here to the studio. 3 guys were arguing about who's going to win the game tonight. And I sat there and I said, you guys can't even name 5 starters tonight for either team, if that matters. And I love it, though, because that's the passion, of course, of the NFL. What do you expect to see besides sometimes preseason football early can be a little bit ugly to watch?
Yeah, this is a great tool for the Cowboy coaching staff to assess some of these young guys. Remember, they've got 2 classes of draft picks on this team that have never played in a preseason game. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to this and how the young guys, when the lights come on, how they perform. It's one thing to do it out in Oxnard during training camp, and you can be all Oxnard. But let's see when you get into a real game, if you can, for the young guys that are trying to make this team, that they can continue those types of performances. So, I understand, it's on TV and all that, but it's a great, great learning tool for the coaching staff.
Mickey, not a lot of guys making the trip. What's your most interesting thing tonight? Because, you're not going to see, Amari Cooper not practiced yet. Dak Prescott's been out for a week. A lot of, Zeke Elliott's not going to play. So what do you watch for in this first game?
Who's the backup quarterback? Because these guys are going to get a lot of snaps, right? And they haven't solved that equation yet. Who's the backup center? Who's the swing tackle? We're going to see those guys play tonight and play a lot. Now, one thing you be aware of, what Mike McCarthy said this week, is he's got to regulate their snaps tonight with thoughts of how he's going to use them on Saturday when they practice against the Rams. So the amount of reps guys get today, it's kind of a twofold thing with that in consideration. But, like I said, the defense, we maybe name 3 starters right now. But other than that, these guys got to play. So yeah, this is an extra tool this coaching staff gets that they certainly wish they had gotten it last year, but the games got canceled.
Mickey, I know that for the most part, even though there's some position battles going on, the Cowboys know what they have on the roster. Has there been any kind of like a training camp hero this year, or a guy that people have been impressed by that maybe the odds are not great, but he's fighting for, maybe a little attention down the line?
Well, there's a bunch of those guys. I think one guy that's, fighting to make the team, that's been on the team previously, but he's been injured before. Luke Gifford, the tight end that made this team as an undrafted free agent. He's looked good. Now, is he going to look good out here? Malik Turner, young wide receiver. Last week, or this last, several practices, everybody figured out that he's number 17. Can he continue to perform in a game like this? But a lot of it's contingent on, like, the offensive guys, the receivers, and how well is the quarterback playing? And how well can the quarterback play behind a backup offensive line, depending on how Pittsburgh plays it? So there's a lot of considerations when you're trying to judge guys, because if they might start off with some of their starters on offense. I would imagine Biotish is out there. Connor Williams probably out there. Connor McGovern, who could be a starter at some point, might be out there. And I don't know if they're going to do this or not. I have not heard. But La'el Collins hasn't played a football game since the end of the 2019 season. That's a long time not playing a football game. And he's got some rust to knock out. So might they send him out there for a series or two? He's been practicing, and he's one of the starting offensive linemen they brought along. No Zach Martin, no Tyron Smith, but the other guys are here. So it'd be interesting if they send those guys out there to give Garrett Gilbert at least a chance to show what he can do in a preseason game. And then, we'll see what happens with Ben DiNucci and Cooper Rush, what kind of offensive line they can put out there, but they can't wear out those backup offensive linemen knowing they got to practice in 2 days against the Rams.
Mickey, is there not a chance? Of course there's a chance, but of who they have behind Dak, and right now, the last few days, without him being able to throw, which appears to be precautionary, that surely hope it's not worse than that, but do you think that the backup quarterback is on the roster right now?
They haven't proved it to me yet. So we'll see, what happens. And they're going to have two, Mike said that the first preseason game and the fourth preseason game will be mostly young guys. So now we're going to find out, what some of these guys can do. Certainly, the quarterbacks, if they hold out Dak, even longer, I mean, they could hold him out easily till they get back to Dallas. These guys are going to get a great opportunity to show what they can do. But I don't know that, and then, David, I don't know who's going to get released the end of August. There might be some experienced quarterback that's at least started 10 games in the league that gets released, and you're going, I think I'd rather err on the side of guys with experience than my guys who, of the three guys, the total starts add up to 2 in the National Football League. And that's not very, very, making me feel real good about it if I was a coach. So, yeah, it may depend on who gets released. Look at the Chicago Bears. What if Justin Fields wins the starting job? I don't know if he does or not. But if he does, can they keep both Andy Dalton and Foles? I don't think so. Or even if he's the backup quarterback, are you going to keep one of those guys as the third quarterback? They might have to release one of those guys. And then you've got to say, okay, here's the amount of money I have left. You don't have a job the 1st of September. Will you take this? And you probably won't get too choosy if you're out of a job.
Mickey, of the Cowboys Hall of Fame inductees this week, Jimmy Johnson, Drew Pearson, Cliff Harris, who are you looking forward to hearing the most from?
Well, Drew will be great. We know that. Cliff will be funny. And then I just want to know what Jimmy's got to say because you know him. He's a great orator, and I'm sure he's pumped up for this. As a matter of fact, I saw him on the golf cart getting taken in towards the stadium as we were walking towards the Hall of Fame. And, it should be a pretty good, I don't know how long the pregame show is, but I noticed we just got done going through the Hall of Fame, and one of the young guys in PR had never been there. So we walked him through it, and we just went through where the busts are. Well, the busts for the guys that are on the Fox studio show, pregame studio show, those busts are all removed. So I would imagine they're going to be on the set, sitting there in front of them because, all the analysts are in the Hall of Fame, right? Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I almost think it's become like you get in the media, if you're pretty good and you get in the media, you're going to become a Hall of Famer. I just like, even if you're on the edge. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the busts of Troy, the bust of Bradshaw, Howie Long. Did I forget anybody? They were all missing in the rotunda. So it says temporarily removed. It's like, well, they're removed for today.
Mickey, thank you. Enjoy. It's back. Football's here. I know you got some travel ahead of you as well. The Rams, the practices. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. We miss seeing you, man.
Okay, I'll call you when I get back to Oxnard.
Yes, sir. Mickey Spagno. Please do.
Yeah.
Unless it's 10 o'clock there and it's midnight here.
Can you FaceTime in some colder weather?
When we come back, we'll have Craig Smoak's Off the Radar, brand new sponsor Pickup Outfitters, Jay Arrett on Lake Air Drive at 220. They have all of the bells and whistles, bumpers, and more at grill guards of what you need for your pickup or SUV and or minivan. Pickup Outfitters at 220 Lake Air Drive. Off the Radar is next.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got a lot of great deals going on right now. The summer savings event over at Richard Carr. You know, a couple summers back, I was in a ride much different from the one I'm in right now. I'm in a newer SUV, but at the time I was in an old Grand Am, and man, it was just falling apart. And driving during the summer, eventually my AC went out, and it was a miserable experience. But thankfully, there's good people like those over at Richard Carr that want to make your summer rides here over the next couple of months perfect. They want you to be comfortable. They want you to feel safe, and they want you, especially if you're traveling around with your families, to know that you're in a vehicle that you can trust going across country or across the state. So right now, Richard Carr has a lot of great deals, and that includes the Cadillacs with responsive power, advanced technology, and exceptional agility. Combined all together, the new Cadillac brings a smile to your face on every drive, and at Richard Carr Cadillac, they will find the right model for you, whether it's a smooth and powerful CT4 sedan starting at only $33,395, or the XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs in the style and size to fit your lifestyle. You can also get back on the road with space and safety, as I was referring to earlier. And how about some luxury mixed in as well? That's what you get with the Buick models. Right now, well-qualified buyers get 0% financing for 72 months on most 2021 Buick SUVs. And Richard Carr is also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, all of them priced to move during the summer savings event. They have multiple cars and trucks priced to get you back on the road this summer, and all of them have gone through a 172-point inspection before they ever hit the lot. With dozens of lenders, Richard Carr says yes when others say no. 100% credit approval is always the goal. And Richard Carr, for those here in the Waco area, they are your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. You can come by the dealership and take a test drive, or you can contact them because, you know, maybe folks still not ready to leave the house or whatever the case may be, whatever your situation is, you can't make it over to the dealership. Well, you can talk to them and they will bring the test drive to you. It's a summer savings event going on all month at Richard Carr, and they are owned and operated, run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Impact Research Institute, we can help you identify if you have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and measure for liver stiffness or scarring. If you or a loved one has diabetes, high cholesterol, hypertension, obesity, or concerns about your liver health, Impact Research Institute may be able to help by providing liver health screenings quickly at no cost, physician counseling, and opportunities to qualify for clinical trials. Visit us at impactresearchtx.com for more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy an elite tennis facility, but also to remain fit and reshape your body. And ahead of the curve with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman and courts available. Like your body, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. Large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available with their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Beautiful sound of members working out, running, lifting, stretching, group exercise classes throughout each day. Personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. New look bar and lounge area with beer and wine with large flat screens. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and both include showers, sauna, and whirlpool, and a world-class tennis courts facility and youth academy led by Pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Make the summer sales event as rocking at Allen Samuels with the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $5,250 or 2.9% for 72 months plus $1,000 bonus cash. The 1500 Crew Cab has the top safety rating and is ranked #1 in full-size pickup trucks. Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar.
All right, welcome into SicEm365 Radio, or welcome back. Off the Radar, taking a look at a grab bag of stories that so busy talking about realignment of the Cowboys preseason game tonight, we might not touch on otherwise. Just kind of, like I said, a little bit of a grab bag. I did notice we were talking about Trayvon Bromell earlier in the relay team. They're just total failure last night. I'm not trying to, continue to bury him or anything like that, but not sure if you saw it. Trayvon Bromell did speak. He did not speak to reporters afterwards, but he did go to Twitter after the fact and did say that, it's just really tough that he has been battling these injuries. He said, "I'm sorry, but this is tough. Went through all these injuries and hard work to fail, bro." And I'm sure there was a lot more emotion than just that one line behind that. And interestingly enough, Trayvon Bromell's latest tweet is a retweet of Carl Lewis's criticism of the USA track relay team. So I wonder if that's, how some people put like retweets aren't endorsements, but I don't know. I think that's probably an endorsement, and he and the other runners are probably feeling the same way about how apparently just I discombobulated the whole thing was from coaching to positions to all that. Yeah. So just interesting that he retweeted that retweeted a Carl Lewis talking about I'll be live tonight streaming. He's going to be talking about all that. So if you want to check out Carl Lewis riffing more on track, but I said earlier it's a massive disappointment. It can't be anything other than that. But I think Trayvon Bromell is going to be back at the next games, and I think he's going to do really well for himself. I have a feeling that he'll do pretty well for himself. Meanwhile, how much Olympics have you guys actually watched?
A lot.
You watched a lot?
A lot. I watched more, I would think, over the last couple of days. I did watch some of the 100-meter. I was seeing what Trayvon did, and it didn't work out. But I'd say probably less than I've ever watched in my lifetime.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe because the priorities are different for me. I used to never miss the Olympic Games. I'd sit in front of the TV for hours upon hours upon hours. It was all right there. And I think that, and I'm not like most of everyone else, they've split it into so many different networks, which allows other sports to be seen better and live. I just don't know if I have an answer to that. I just haven't. I didn't watch a lot of Rio de Janeiro either, or London. I just haven't lately.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched some here and there. Without the crowds, it's such a bummer, man. It's hard to watch without crowds. I was watching diving the other night just because those athletes are so impressive, and I don't know how they do what they do on the high dive, but like just empty. Totally empty outside of the people around the pool, and it just felt weird. It was kind of hard to watch without that sort of reaction to the dives and whatnot. But I ask because table tennis is coming up, and I seem to remember that. Didn't you have like a little affinity for table tennis back when you were living in Japan?
When I lived in Japan, I could play it. I really could. I was disappointed when the partners, they were going to put a table tennis ping pong table in here because I would have never lost. I had one of those real hard, kind of thick, foamy ones.
Okay, so how do you serve? Do you serve?
Oh, I like this.
Like that? Well, I mean, like they have it like it looks like they're holding like a it's wild.
It looks like they're throwing like a Burt Blyleven curveball back in the day, one of the great curveballs in baseball history.
Well, table tennis will be going on. The last day's tomorrow, so if you haven't watched a lot of Olympics, but I figure you do like table tennis, well, tomorrow will be your last opportunity to watch that. It just says the last day is Friday. I don't have the exact... let's see, looks like singles might start like tomorrow. Wait, it's all the way down here. Sorry.
I do have a question for our YouTube audience. Can you explain to me how someone gets so into badminton they find out they're Olympic level good?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's never been a sport that like I've ever...
Do you know what's going to be one of the newest Olympic sports soon? Pickleball.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
It's exploded. I mean, if they're going to do skateboarding and things like that, I'm telling you that a lot of the
pickleball should be.
Well, I don't know about. It's got to still kind of.
Yeah, it's got to. But if skateboarding,
I think at some point. Yeah.
But I see pickleball. I can go anywhere in any city in America and find a place to play pickleball. I don't know where you go play badminton.
Do they have? Okay, I don't know. Maybe the why or do they have disc golf in the Olympics?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yet, no.
I'm just throwing out some things that might happen.
Well, I mean, we're going to have breakdancing soon, so I think pretty much everything's on the table, and that goes in line with some of the other dance-based sports, so to speak. But that's being added, I know. But, not sure about disc golf. Wouldn't surprise me, though, if that's something eventually. So just found out, if you want to catch that final for the men's gold medal in table tennis, so just got to get up at 5:30 tomorrow to watch that final. So I'm sure you'll get right on that. But speaking of the Olympics, they want to update the medal count. We haven't really done that, and I am interested in where the U.S. finishes overall. The U.S. currently in number one as far as overall medals go. 91 overall medals for Team USA, 29 of those gold, and they are number 2 in gold medals. China has 34. So China with a 5 gold lead, but the U.S. with like a 17 overall medal count lead on the Chinese. Japan has the 3rd most medals. Australia and the Republic of Congo, number 5 overall.
Yeah,
good for Congo.
Name the 3 countries that have won gold medals in men's table tennis since they started competing, I think, in 1988.
I'm going to guess China.
Okay, that's really hard.
Canada.
No.
Germany.
Nope.
I'd say Canada's just winter purely, right?
They're doing pretty good in a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah.
I mean, beach volleyball, I think, got
China.
4th. Japan?
No, I'm surprised. No. South Korea.
Okay.
And Australia.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Australia? Jan Ove Waldner in the 1992 I'm sorry, Sweden. Same thing. Sweden.
It's really not
even anywhere close to each other.
Sweden and Australia.
Totally different
continents. It's a bunch of blonde people.
Australia. No, Sweden is a bunch of blonde people. Sure, Australia is a very, very diverse population.
Yeah. Yep. So there's the updated medal count, and if you want to watch that table tennis final, that's 5:30 tomorrow morning.
All right.
All right. This is a typical thing every year. This is one of those other kind of funny things that fans get excited about and brag about, kind of like the SEC money that won't be going to them, but that they will be contributing to. The Cowboys are once again the most valuable franchise in the NFL. It's the yearly thing that we bring this up because they're never not number one. But they were up 14%, or I guess overall the league saw a 20% revenue drop due to the pandemic, but the value of the 32 franchises was actually up 14%. Biggest gain in 5 years, and for the 15th straight year, the Cowboys are valued as the most expensive franchise, $6.5 billion. That is $800 million more than their value in 2020. So despite the coronavirus pandemic, despite a lack of fans, despite all that, they added $800 million more to their total valuation. It's pretty insane.
We were born under the wrong star.
Man,
Isn't it crazy though that the richest college football budget revenue producer, I know that goes back and forth, is Texas. And the richest football team in the NFL, the Cowboys, and both of the fan bases are very similar.
Yep.
If not the same people.
Overlap quite a bit.
Yeah. Patriots number 2, they're worth $5 billion. Giants $4.85 billion. Rams $4.8 billion. And the Washington football team is number 5 as far as total franchise valuations at $4.2 billion. The only NFC East team not in the top 5 were the Eagles. and they were number 9, worth $3.8 billion. So,
and that's why the NFC East, man, they still to this day, the numbers, the ratings for those teams are incredible.
Well, sticking with money, I meant to mention this last week. It's just worth noting. I'm not a giant LeBron James fan. I could take him or leave him. I respect the hell out of his game and all that, but I've just never. I was an MJ guy. I was an MJ era guy more so than a LeBron era guy. But he is officially a billionaire as of a few days ago. He has now earned over $1 billion between his on-court and off-court endeavors. He earned $346 million so far from his NBA contracts and $700 million from off-court sponsorships, his media company investments, and his other investments as well. He is the first U.S. athlete in any of the 4 major sports to accumulate $1 billion while still being an active athlete.
Which is why, when asked about China last year, he didn't say anything.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, it's kind of weird, huh? Why hurt that?
It's one of those potato chip bag clips on his lip.
No, again, and I will say I was very disappointed in him not taking a stand then, but also I'm not put in the position where I'm about to cross the finish line to $1 billion, and
Yeah, Michael Jordan, the only other known billionaire basketball player, but he didn't get the $1 billion tag until after he had quit his playing career. So LeBron's the first guy to do it, like as an active athlete. Tiger Woods, Floyd Mayweather, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, the other athletes who have all earned at least $1 billion during their playing careers. And speaking of Messi, announced today he is leaving Barcelona, or I guess Barcelona announced that Lionel Messi will be leaving the club due to financial obstacles. And I know that our resident soccer fan, Jack's got big opinions on that. I'm not much of a soccer fan, but I do know enough about Lionel Messi and kind of seeing the reaction that is a pretty big dadgum deal that he will be leaving Barcelona. And he's so impactful that he actually damages the overall value, because we're kind of doing the money thing today, the overall value of FC Barcelona. Like, that's how impactful that he is. So he actually has, so much pull that he leaves, and all of a sudden they are worth far less, or still worth a lot, but they do take a bit of a dip as far as their overall value. The Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award is an award I'm a part of. It goes to the best college football player in the state of Texas. Released their watch list today. A bunch of different names on there, but this is going to be a pretty interesting year. Lots of big-time players, kind of the foregone conclusions that you would think, the guys like the Max Duggins and players like that, De'Aaron King in Miami. But this transfer portal, I'll tell you what, it has made the state of Texas and the football players from here just span out so much farther than they ever were before. The first year I was a part of this award panel, it was like to Big 12 schools, and that was pretty much it. And now you look at this, you got Notre Dame, Washington, Memphis, USC, Miami, Liberty. I mean, you go on and on and on, but that's up now. The watch list, and Baylor's representative was running back Treston Ebner. That is the nominee for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award watch list. And finally, the SEC announced an extension of the contract for Commissioner Greg Sankey this afternoon.
Wonder what he's done lately.
Yeah, he has been extended through at least 2026. So that falls right in line with all these grant of rights expiring. Actually, a year later from the 24-25 grant of rights expiring for the Big 12. So he's locked in through at least then. And he will keep that post for at least the next 5 years. He's been there since June 1st, 2015. So he's now in his 7th year and will have over 10 years when all is said and done.
By the way, Craig, quick correction. ROC is Russian Olympic Committee.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay, thanks. So, when I clicked on it, I was like,
not Russia.
Yeah, not Russia, even though we know it's Russia. And thank you for correcting me there. I was confused as well when I saw ROC, but yeah, they did the whole Russia can't participate, but they can still participate and basically be Russia in everything but name, right? Yeah. Isn't that what they tried to pull off? So, yeah, Greg Sankey, he's locked up through 2026. Quite the timing with everything that's going on right now, and there's a few stories that are off the radar.
All right, thank you, Craig. Also, one other note, Tombstone. We got a great note on our Twitter.
Let's save it to post Gottlieb, since we're running behind.
Okay, yeah, Doug Gottlieb. Oh, my goodness, this could be interesting. Fox Sports is next. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, they have a heavy-duty, big-time equipment that you build things with. You have to have this to build whatever you're building most of the time. If it's a large structure, metal buildings, steel and pipe, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has been in business since 1943. 1943. Think about all the things in the last 78 years that have come and gone, changed quite a bit. The economy, whoever runs Congress or the White House or everything else in between, or just the way populations have changed around the state. Texas, of course, where Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 2 locations in both Waco and Bryan, open Saturdays 8 till noon if you can't get there during the week. But you don't have to get there because you can order what you need, and then they'll deliver it and even unload it because, again, it's very big, bulky, heavy stuff. Steel, pipe, metal. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. Since 1943, pioneerboys.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Grant Dideker, under the umbrella of Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. When you contact people about insurance, and people are hit up with it all the time, what do you tell them? What do you say? I know you say you educate, but Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is obviously successful for a lot of different reasons. It has hundreds of thousands.
It's personal service. Okay. It's one-on-one service. Just yesterday, went to a client's house, met with the couple, went over all the coverages, and they said, wow, we've, never had this before. We've had this different insurance and that different insurance, but we've never had somebody actually come to the house and go over everything with us. And wow, we really appreciate that, especially this day and time where it's just a click of a button and you really don't know who you're dealing with. It's a different person you call every time you call that 800 number. You don't know who your agent is. Now they have a face with the name, and it's more personal service.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, McLennan County agent. If someone wants to contact you, just straight on your cell phone?
Yep, 254-265-0442.
Grant Dideker, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, a McLennan County agent.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Cowboys leading by a dozen. It's their biggest. Mason gets that miss. Oh, wow! From Gottlieb.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, we've had Doug Gottlieb on many times, Fox Sports. A lot of it, of course, recently with what Baylor was doing in basketball on their way to what eventually became a national championship. So, Doug, I'm trying to play this very rare during the week, if ever, round of golf this morning, and I am told that you stirred up society. Is that right, Paul? Isn't that what you told me?
I think
Doug Gottlieb.
Yeah, Colt Barber sent us a message, and after that, had to go listen, and it was quite the epic rant, Doug.
All right, so Doug, your thoughts about what's going on in college football?
Well, I'm not allowed to. It was on satellite radio, so there's some choice words. I just thought it's not just the OU and Texas leaving the league and being bullcrap. It's the way in which it was done. You know, I mean, if what you're doing is the right thing, then you don't have to hide anything, right? Like Texas was well within their rights when their grant of rights is up in 25. They want to leave the league. They're allowed to. Why do you have to do it under cover of darkness? And then after like 6 months of planning, terrible business. And Oklahoma, shame on them. What you have to know about the relationship with Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, it's different than Texas and Texas A&M or Texas and Baylor, right? They've been together in the same league since 1920. And the rivalry spans all sports. I mean, baseball sells out in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Golf's a little bit of rivalry. Wrestling's always been good. Women's basketball is decent. Basketball is very good. And obviously football is a one-sided affair. But I mean, even the most ardent OU homer would point out that over the last 15 years, or even the last decade, really, Oklahoma State is the biggest challenger in the Big 12. It's more about Texas's incompetence than it is about anything else, you know? Like I thought Max Line was a great one, right? It was a really good zinger, which was, it wasn't about Texas thinking too much of themselves, but thinking not enough of themselves. Like, I don't really, I actually don't, I understand what it does to your bars and restaurants and, that instead of having Kansas State and TCU come to Austin, and Iowa State come to Austin, now you have LSU and you have Alabama and you have Auburn. And I mean, you also have, there's Vandy and Mississippi State and Kentucky and Missouri are still in the league now. So it's not like everybody on there is world beaters that's going to fill up your bars and restaurants and hotels. But it's definitely a different cast, bigger schools, wider net, etc. But does Texas know that they let the wolf into the hen house? Right? Do they understand that they were used? They do get it, right? Like, hey, we like your brand. ESPN was failing with the Longhorn Network, but now all those schools can recruit Texas and say, hey, we don't just play A&M. We'll play OU. We play Texas. You can go away from home and still come back home and play. So, but I just think the way in which it was handled, specifically by OU, I thought it's a terrible snapshot of the inherent greed in college sports.
Doug, one of the things that stuck out to me is when we talked to Mac the other day about it, and it mentioned also by Bob Bowlesby and several others, is that during this whole time, Texas and OU clearly had a problem, but they didn't make one bit of effort to make things better. When the league could have expanded, they didn't want to do that. They didn't want, Texas didn't want to make concessions on the Longhorn Network. So it feels like this is, even though it was 6 months, that maybe not the specific idea of this was there, but they always wanted to leave. Do you get that feeling?
I don't know. I don't know. I think, honestly, if Texas is winning and competing for national championships, I would guess none of this happens. And that they're recruiting school. They're trying to recruit Arkansas back into the league, I don't know enough about it. I mean, I know Chris Del Conte. I mean, here's a weird fact that nobody knows. My brother and Chris were roommates at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for their first jobs. Chris was an associate athletic director. My brother was an assistant coach at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So I know Del Conte forever, and I find him to be an incredibly engaging, fun dude, and I think he's done a really good job, despite the fact that his recent hires hasn't worked. Now he's got another shot out of here, football and basketball. And I love Joe C. I mean, Joe C's as good as they are. I think this honestly goes above their pay grade. This is a president thing. And the last president of Texas wanted to be in California, wanted to be part of the Pac-12. These guys, they want to feel like they're big time. I think, look, there's an upside to it for sure with the schools that are going to be coming in and being associated with the best college football conference in the country. The downside to it is, people have been catering to Texas for no other reason than they're Texas for a long time. You do know that the headquarters of the SEC are in Birmingham, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a different deal now. If you think that you're going to have nearly the full, which is weird, right? Like they could have, it kind of what you're saying, they could have dictated some terms here a little bit more and really could have made it, it was already their league financially, but could have made it even more so. And they chose not to do so. And that's great. But the idea of everybody says, hey, I want to be part of an ensemble cast. That's what you are now in the SEC. You're part of the ensemble. You're not the star. And I will be interested to see how that works for the egos in Austin. That'll be a fascinating one.
Do you think, and of course we don't know the details of this, but do you think this was Texas's plan or Oklahoma's?
I think this is ESPN's plan. Look, they're a business, okay, and their business is struggling right now. And what are their two most vital businesses that are actually making money, right? SEC, and they have a big new deal with them, and the college football playoff is a win for them, but it hasn't been they not getting Texas involved. They haven't gotten those big numbers or whatever. But if you're going to expand the college football playoff, and it's going to be on ESPN, and you're going to expand, you have this big new deal. How do you profit the most? You load up on it. And, oh yeah, by the way, you can write it off the loss of the conference. You can write that off with the Longhorn Network, or you can somehow, morph it into the SEC or whatever. But I think this is an ESPN plan. This is Jimmy Pitaro trying to figure out, like, all right, how do I fix this? How do I get out of this Longhorn Network deal? How do I fix this deal? And remember, they don't have as many of the Big 12, college football games anymore, so that's not of value to them. They have everything in the SEC coming up in this new deal, so they just, I think it's on the surface, a very smart plan. The problem with it is now you pissed off everybody else in college football, and for the college football college football, you love it, I love it. Everybody in the Big 12 and the SEC, we're into it. Okay, but when you have Clemson and Alabama and teams in the South every year, like that's NASCAR. There's not growth there. Those may be growing markets, but that's not where the TV viewers are. You got to get SC and Notre Dame and the Big Ten, but you got to get SC. You got to get the West. Nobody on the other side of the country cares about college football once you get to the playoff, because it's become sort of irrelevant, and this is pushing it more towards irrelevance. And I understand that's not the fault of the SEC, okay, but it does kind of all work together. And if it becomes even more of a regional sport, this thing could backfire. And what you've done again by upsetting the apple cart, you run the risk. Everybody right now is like, hey, let's slow down with the college football playoff. Let's not let the SEC get everything. And I think it's a kind of a smart sort of pushback against what ESPN's doing. And remember, again, part of this is TV companies. Fox, who I work for, they got the Big Ten, so they're sitting there going like, oh, hold on, we don't have the college football playoff. We're not just gonna let this thing happen organically and let you profit more off it. Let's slow down and figure this thing out.
Doug, you obviously went to Oklahoma State, and there's 8 teams that are right now sitting there trying to figure out their football lives, and we've had pretty much representatives of almost every one of the various schools or whatever, and we're here in Waco. Obviously, Baylor's seriously affected by this. Do you think that these 8 teams will find a way, no matter what, to survive?
I do. I mean, look, is there an amount of pessimism that it can go to some dark places, right? Like, joining the AAC is not what you want. I mean, you're talking about cutting sports. You're talking about, it's a different sport. And I mean, for Baylor, coming off what they've been able to do basketball wise, after what they had built football wise, and I think are back on the plan of building it the right way football wise. that one would hurt. The thing that I'm impressed by is I do think, for example, Mac is part of a group. There's some smart guys there, right? There's some guys that like, all right, let's figure it's a problem. Let's figure it out. And I think the PAC is the best answer there. An alliance with the PAC is probably the best one. The question is, can you get Colorado and Utah either back into the conference or just into some sort of alliance for college football? And then you have 10 on each side, and you play 9 games on the Midwest side or whatever you want to call it with the Big 12. You play 9, you play everybody in your conference round robin, then you play like 2 crossover games. So people can still get out west, and frankly, so all the schools can get to Texas. And I think it solves a lot of problems for the Pac-12. I think it solves a lot of problems for the Big 12. And I think it makes it a viable TV entity with that volume of games. Because remember, the value in college sports, is it ratings? Yes. It's a solid ratings base. But it also is, you got to provide a volume of a decent number. And I think it would provide that because, look, if you add teams, if you're saying, hey, like Pac-12, add us, like, okay, that means that for every team you add, their TV deal has to increase by $35-40 million per year. Yeah, remember, then if you're adding 4 teams, you're talking about what, $120 to $150 million. Does Oklahoma State and Texas Tech and Baylor and TCU, again, that's your dream scenario, just all the 4 of those teams, does that math work? I don't know. I don't know if that same value works. But the other side to it is like, look, the secret about the Pac-12, people make it out like, their past commissioner was an idiot. The truth is that the Pac-12 is not a great TV product, not because they're not great schools. They have a huge problem, and that's the time zone. You can't play a 7:00 game on the West Coast and hope to get any sort of number in the Central and Eastern time zone. This would alleviate that problem, and those schools want to get into Texas, not just for recruiting and for college football, that's important, but they also want to get into Texas for their student body. They want to continue to expand their horizons. So I think that thing works, and I think you're lucky that you have the Pac-12 that's in need of a jolt. They have a new commissioner that I think is thinking about what's the best way to make this thing work. And I think in the Big 12, you got some smart guys. Bowlesby's done a good job. I think when it immediately happened, I was told, there's a bunch of, hey, let's get rid of Bowlesby. And then they're like, wait a second. If we get rid of Bowlesby, this is a mess. And Bowlesby's done a really nice job of like, hey, all right, let's take a breath. Let's figure it out. Let's band together. Okay, we're going to stay together and collect that big check from OU in Texas because they're leaving this year, right? Nobody walks in and says, hey, I want a divorce in 4 years. That good luck on that one. I'm pretty sure, 95% sure, this is their last year. They'll have to write some form of check. I'm sure they're going to ask for everything, and they'll want to pay nothing, and the truth will fall somewhere in the middle, right? And then, the Pac-12's got to, they got to make sure they secure USC. USC is in a pretty tough financial spot because of some lawsuits against the university that have nothing to do with athletics, and so they're going to need a jolt. And I think if you can lock in USC to being a part of whatever they plan, then you got a pretty good plan in place. And then you got to figure out, is the SEC done? Is the ACC expanding? Are we going forward as 8? Are we going to add the other 2? What do we want to do? Do they want to be 12 and we be 12? How do we want to look at it? I think these are workable problems, and I do think that Mac's the perfect example. You got a really good AD who can problem solve, and he's not every AD is like that. You got at UCLA, Martin Jarmond is very new. He comes in, he's not even 40 years old. He's a really sharp young guy. Can he work with there's some big UCLA alums like a Casey Wasserman. Can he work with those guys in order to solve this problem? Because they're, some of these, the thing about the Pac-12 schools, Cal, Stanford, UCLA, academics are actually what's important to their presidents. They don't care about this nonsense, but you have to get the people that do care to explain to them how it how it benefits them in terms of their school.
Doug, just thinking about it as a basketball conference, though, I can get behind that. There's the Pac-12 and the Big 12.
Hell yeah, that's a great basketball league.
I mean, it's fantastic.
I mean, Arizona, we'll see what Tommy Lloyd does, but UCLA and USC and Cal and Stanford have been a shell of themselves. But go back and look at the last 20 years. I mean, my brother was at Cal for 6 years. They went to 4 NCAA tournaments. Stanford has been down for the last 12 years or so, but before that, they were probably the third best program, maybe even the second best program in the Pac-12 for a while. Washington last year was awful, but previous to that, and they've been very, very good. And there's a fertile recruiting crowd. And I think the coaches would love it because now it opens up California. Look, no matter what anybody says about facilities and conference, kids want to play close to home. They just do. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to play for a school close to home, but if you play, if you're, for example, Baylor, and now all of a sudden you won a national championship, you can already recruit in the state of Texas and in Louisiana and all the places you've been able to draw guys to get transferred. And now all of a sudden you can go hey, you can come out to Waco, okay, be a part of something special. We're opening up a new arena in a couple of years. You'll get to play in that. And, oh, yeah, by the way, we're going to come out and play in L.A., and because you're on in this Alliance Conference, every game's on in Los Angeles. That's a much better sale than, hey, you're going to play just in Baylor, right? It opens up new recruiting avenues for everybody in the league.
Doug, college football needs a czar. Is ESPN trying to become the czar?
How does the czar work?
Well, they run college football.
Yeah. Well, you got to get rid of Mark Emmert, and you're still going to have the same problem. Whether you have 75 schools or you have 300 schools, everybody's worried about themselves. Everybody has their own problem. So, and then you got Notre Dame's always kind of done their own thing. You got private schools and public schools. ESPN's trying to, you control what you can control. And if we can control an entire conference's, TV package, and it's the best conference, and oh yeah, by the way, we control the college football playoff, then yeah, let's flex our muscles a little bit. I don't know if they're trying to be the czar, but I also don't know. I don't know if they know what they did. Because on the surface it looks great, okay, but all it takes is somebody in Silicon Valley to go here's what I'm going to do. Apple, because Apple craps money. ESPN's losing money, right? Apple, Netflix, Amazon, Yahoo, Google, Facebook. Any of those ones get involved and say hey, we'll partner with CBS or Fox or even Bally's, which is owned by Sinclair, right? Partners with one of them, ESPN's over. Hey, because all these schools will go wherever the biggest check is. I think it's a really kind of curious time. And then now that you factor in the fact that cable television is suffering and things are working towards streaming, but streaming is not really making money just yet. But you also have to factor in that all these athletic departments' budgets are off because they didn't have fans last year. So it's a really interesting time. I don't know if ESPN's trying to be the czar. I do think they're trying to control what they can control. It's no different than any other business. Whatever's making money, go into that. Whatever's not, get out of that. I have a friend that works at Nike, and Nike, 20 years ago bought Cole Haan. You guys remember that? They bought Cole Haan the shoes, and then they sold Cole Haan. I'm going to say 7 or 8 years ago, and so the Cole Haan still have that kind of air soul to it, right? And I asked a buddy who works at Nike, he's an executive. I was like, "Why'd you guys sell Cole Haan? I love those." And he goes, "Yeah, we only got 8% growth." I was like, "That sounds good. Now anything less than 12% growth, we're getting rid of."
Wow.
Wow. That's how that's how real business works, and, they're leaning into what business they feel like works, and college football kind of works for them. And, they also need a volume because, they want to control things on that ESPN Plus app so that they feel like you have to pay. Right now it's $5, but next year it'll be $6. The year after that it'll be $7 and so on, because you feel like if you want to watch a game wherever you are, you got to press that button.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports, has been with us with our show many times, including, as I mentioned, not just the run that Baylor had, but other years as well, but in the last 18 months or so. And I know he's very passionate. Some of you even either on the chat and text line. The text line, we get a lot of business, a lot of responses from you as well. You know, I saw some things about how you feel about Doug. Some that were very personal. I'll say this. Just because you don't like somebody's opinion about a specific type topic, or maybe it's about your team or a favorite player, you want to get, personal? Why? Because there may be something he says in 2 months that might be something you agree with. I don't know. I've never understood that. You can say you don't like his opinion. You can tell him to shut up. You say, but then some of you want to get personal with him, and he has discussed his past in the open many times. That's just me to tell you, because some of you don't need to sometimes feel like you will live a perfect life. I don't understand that. I understand it's a message board, it's a chat room. I'm just saying, because you don't like his opinion, you want to then bring up and drudge up some things from his past when he has discussed that personally in open candidness. Yeah, I don't get it. Why? Because you wouldn't want that with you. Nor would I want that for you. SicEm365 Radio.
If you are looking for a new home or looking to sell the one you are in, you need to call my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, 254-214-3713, or online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com, or Google Lance Donaldson. Just use your favorite search engine. It's probably Google that you are on. And look, Lance is a great guy. He's a local realtor with a unique perspective. That's how he describes himself. And look, you're going to have fun looking for a house with him. And one of the things you need right now, it's a seller's market. It's all seller's market pretty much all over the country, and it's a seller's market here in Waco. And so, if you are trying to sell a house, you want to make sure you get the maximum value for their house, and that you can roll that value into something that you're going to buy, and that you make some money on the deal and don't lose money on the house you're buying. You need a realtor who can guide you through all that. That's Lance Donaldson. So give him a call, 254-214-3713.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Life is back on, sports bettors, and BetUS has your NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, UFC, PGA, and yes, NFL betting lines up for their 27th year, and live betting on all of it. Log into BetUS.com or call 800-792-3887. That's 800-79-BETUS. BetUS for 125% bonuses with promo code SicEm125. Customer service pros are ready to get your phone, social, and online sports betting kickoff started now. Play with the proven mainstay in the industry. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS.com. Use promo code SicEm125.
Nothing beats fall, football, and Ford. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. The Friday night lights at Midway High School ignite that electric feeling. And Bird Colgin Ford, we have some cool electric vehicle options as well. Come put your custom order in today for the all-new Mach-E or Ford Lightning. Enjoy the electricity and the lightning speed on the football field, and nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab blood work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
All right, here we go. Paul's top 5. Oh, I got to do this. And then to the call, who's been on hold very patiently. Thank you. So yesterday, his top 5 comparing Tombstone characters to those involved in Realignment, correct? Mm-hmm. And how many of you, if you want to put out the chat room, yes or no, have watched Tombstone? And how many of you may have gone home, or if you were home, then watched it or found it? Because I had a few of you. Diane asked that question. How many people watched Tombstone when they got home? But here's the most important note of all of it. This is from the Twitter feed, and this is from Brad Strickland, who's also ahead of the officials or runs some of the officials, football officials in Central Texas. We always need more of those. I know you guys were doing a segment on Tombstone. I learned something interesting. Craig would love this as well. In the movie Tombstone, when Doc Holliday says, "I'm your Huckleberry," which is one of the great lines of all time, he's actually saying, "I'm your hucklebearer." In a South Georgia accent, a huckle is the rail on a coffin. A hucklebearer, basically he was telling Johnny Ringo, "I'll take you to your grave."
Which makes it even more badass.
Yeah. It's one of the great movies for one-liners, I think, of all time. All right, let's go to the calls. 254-339-1122. Let's go.
David in Taylor, Texas. You're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for holding.
Well, something I wanted to bring up. Y'all have been talking about what's going to happen with smaller teams in the Big 12. And you guys have been saying Baylor and TCU and the whole rivalry thing is not, they don't have as much going for them. But I would point out that TCU at least has got a heck of a dignified and long history. They're now, as the things stand now with OU and Texas out, they're the only team that has national championships in the Big 12, except for, I guess, Oklahoma State had one that was retroactively awarded 60 years later. But, TCU's the only one with national championships. 2 major awards, the O'Brien Award and the Ball Award, are both named after TCU players. TCU they have a long history of being a powerhouse in college football. And I think, especially the Pac-12, they like history. They like tradition. And I can't help thinking that's going to be something that helps TCU in the long run, and maybe the whole Big 12 because of it. Because there's you have other Baylor as well. Baylor and TCU have played each other more times than just about any other 2 schools in the country, and it's the most even rivalry of any of them. I think it's always been within 2 or 3 games of being even. Yeah. So that's a competitive rivalry for sure.
One of the things you bring up. I
wanted to see what you guys thought.
No, and we appreciate it. By the way, we just realized that the late Dickie Magel, who's the one that was involved in that famous play against Alabama, who passed away recently, from Taylor, Texas, didn't know that. one of the things you mentioned is all this history. That didn't help them when the Big 12 was formed. And yes, absolutely, TCU has a tremendous amount of history. As far as national championships, you're talking in football, because we just saw Baylor win one in basketball just 3 or 4 months ago. They have tremendous history. But that didn't help them in the Big 12. And it took a while for them to eventually become a part of the Big 12 because of teams leaving. And I'm glad they're a part of it. I wish they would have been a part of it from the beginning. I know the history. I know the stories. But that's still all. That doesn't do anything when it comes to eyeballs and viewers and mass alumni base. Mm-hmm. I like TCU, even though Baylor and TCU have some anger and hatred issues and stuff like that at times. I wish they would learn how to like each other more, because they're very similar in a lot of ways, even though they'll never admit that. But it's a good point, the history. But that also means that if you want to take history in football, that the Ivy League teams, and I'm not trying to be flippant here, that also means that my favorite college football team, which was great for 40 years, which is now irrelevant and has been for about 10 and maybe longer, is a blue blood. They are Nebraska, but they don't have much clout right now anywhere. Mm-hmm. They don't. I mean, that's just being honest. And now if they would have been winning, it would have helped, but they don't. So history can only go so far, I think, currently when it comes to trying to formulate whoever survives this. I hope TCU does. I hope Baylor does. I hope the remaining 8 do. But that's just that response to that.
I do wish it mattered more, and I think that the Big 12 is one of the first responsible for wrecking some of that history. You know, when they broke up their own, one of their best rivalries in Nebraska and Oklahoma in the same league. Like, they just said, all right, we're going to play this every 4 years now, or whatever it was, or 2 years on and 2 years off, which made no sense at all. And those decisions were some of the things that have led them to this point in a historical context, and in the fact of not really paying attention to history. And then like when asked about it, was like, well, how else were we supposed to do it? Like, I don't know, do it how the other conferences do it, and just say, this is a more important game than, like the SEC does it with some schools that are, across East and West. Like, this is a more important game than them playing Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt gets it. Shut up. Like that. Instead, that's
some of the things about the SEC and how it's put together. And I know it's a great conference and all that. And believe me, sometimes they think they invented football, and I just kind of Some people take so many things seriously, but what have Kentucky, Vanderbilt, with all due respect to Mississippi State, I know Ole Miss has got some history there. They just happen to be a part of that original conference.
Yeah,
but that hasn't helped teams that were a part of the original Big 12. In fact, some of them have left, and some of them are right now trying to grasp for, okay, where's my lifeline? But in the SEC, because that conference grew, and with all due respect with some of the programs I mentioned, they just happen to be located regionally right now where college football is thriving in the South. That doesn't mean it doesn't thrive at Ohio State or places like, is that right? Somebody put that up on the text line. They just happen to be a part of the original conference. But the SEC, what they've always been strong at is being one. That's going to be tested a little bit here, but being all together. When A&M was pissed, they had a right to be. So I'm like, oh my God, they had a right to be. That doesn't mean they were right, but they had a right to be. And guess what? They still unanimously accepted Texas and Oklahoma into the league, because that's what the SEC did. And if the Big 12 ever, as a group from the original 12, would have had that kind of unity, they would still be there, and they would be 16 right now. But that could never be done, because some didn't trust each other, and some couldn't stand that one ranked 12th in the conference was not as important as they were.
Well, and look, it was formed out of half of a broken league.
Out of two broken families. The Big 8 was fine. The Big 12 was formed because the Big 8 kind of understood the future. Yeah. They could see it, even if you had Missouri or Kansas and you had near Kansas or St. Louis. But the Big 12 was formed because the Southwest Conference was breaking up, and they needed to do something. And believe me, they threw a couple of life rafts out. But think about how the Big 12 was formed because of somewhat chaos. And that league never, ever was a family. They could say whatever they want. It never was. Not from the beginning, not now, and not even 5 years ago. Not even when A&M decided to leave, or Missouri. They couldn't even get along then. Even when they had people say, we're done with this neighborhood. We want to move somewhere else.
Yeah, and again, like it was formed out like the Big 12. To get the Texas teams into the Big 12 was a mess too. I mean, it wasn't like, okay, the Southwest Conference is breaking up. What's the best thing that we do? A&M had different plans, and then the state government got involved in it and said, no, you don't. This is what you're doing. You and Texas are going to be together. And okay, well, all right, we're going to join the Big 8, and they're going to expand. And they're like, yeah, you're also going to take Baylor and Texas Tech with you. And then, TCU was like, hey, but nobody cared. And so that's how it was formed. So it was formed under, it wasn't a marriage that was formed perfect. It was an arranged marriage almost. And it was just waiting to blow up from the beginning. And part of that was because, and Texas made different rules that pissed off Nebraska, and whether Nebraska had right to be pissed or not, they were used to one thing. But it is funny that
they were also used to winning at elite level, and that started the fade too.
But what happened?
And Texas had something to do with that because they were beating Nebraska.
But the first big conflict was the gray shirt rule that Texas wanted to change, that Nebraska had used and flourished with several like high profile guys in that gray shirt program that they were doing, and had that how many. Like Texas wanted 3 gray shirts and Nebraska was using 6 or something like that. I can't remember what the exact number was, and somebody can correct me, but that was the first little conflict, and I think that probably started with Nebraska started thinking like, wait a minute, didn't we just help you out and bring you into our league?
One of the things that will always be, if you look at it from Nebraska's perspective, and believe me, they're now irrelevant, I get it, but they had to have some advantages or ways to try to get players to their school. They're in Lincoln, Nebraska, for God's sakes. Mm-hmm. They're in the middle of nowhere. That state doesn't create much like blue chip talent. There aren't many Almon Greens or Johnny Rogers or others. I mean, they did need to bring in at times guys that might have been a little bit on the edge academically, and they weren't the only ones. But that was part of what started to eat away at that, and eventually it killed them. And don't think that wasn't part of the plan. And I'm not saying, hey, do whatever's going to be best for you. I get it. That's kind of what we're doing this now for even today. Hey, from Chuck Brown, Big 12, no, I'm sorry. This is from Orange Bloods 21, and he's now not using all caps anymore. Thank you, Orange Bloods. We can all get along. I hope all survive. As a Texas fan, it's bittersweet. I have loved the Big 12, even all the butt whippings. I'm a fan of the sport itself and a fan of my university, just like you all. Big 12, more respect. All right, thank you.
Appreciate that.
From the 817, if a team was to leave the Big 12 now, what team do you think they will go? In what conference? Well, Texas and Oklahoma are leaving. I've heard a lot of speculation now for 2+ weeks about Kansas and the Big 10, and nothing's changed. I don't know that answer. All of them have kind of something, and then some of them, all of them have a little something, and they have pride in what they do or whatever, and some are Tier 1 or some are AAU, whatever all you want. All of them feel like they have something to bring to the table, and yet all of them are in the position they're in because there's also some drawbacks. But that doesn't mean they're not good at what they do, or that doesn't mean they can't survive, but they do need some help now.
Yeah. All right. I don't know who it would be.
I don't think, I wouldn't say Kansas. I might say for some reason, I don't know. I can't answer that.
See, I would have said at the beginning it was in West Virginia. Just
who
because,
has the best?
But
yes.
After talking to both Tony Caridi and Jed Drenning, I mean, West Virginia likes where they're at.
They kind of like. Who has the best national brand among the 8 remaining? Kansas still, because I know that Baylor just won the national title. You know what I had somebody tell me today? This is from a talk show today. That outside perhaps the state of Texas, Baylor has much more respect nationwide than they do in their own state because of some of the things that they've been through, that a lot of people now nationally, only when they want to get crappy, they bring up, just like everybody else who's had some scandals along the way. And believe me, Mack Rhodes admitted that in legislature. Hey, we've got problems. We understand. We're not perfect by any means. But one of the things they said is that nationally, when you're not like around the Big 12 or whatever, that because of a lot of things that they've been able to do, RG3, the national championship, women's basketball, which I does non-revenue, I get it, that they actually have a better reputation nationally than they have in their own state. And a lot of that's bitterness and rivalries and by the way the Big 12 was formed the first time.
Yeah, and the thing about Baylor is that they're there shouldn't have been. It's how this has way. It's this way in Texas, but like there's this whole like you shouldn't be good. You were not good for a long time, and we got used to that. Now that you're good, we don't like it.
And then they gave him some other reasons.
But it happens in every. I mean, yes, they gave him other reasons, but I'm saying that's the overarching feeling is the scandals are every school is going to have a scandal. Every single one is going to have a scandal to some degree. Maybe not as bad as or poorly as Baylor handled it when it happened, but you're going to have a scandal. So those things are always going to be there. I mean, you're going to even little things. School's going to make fun of 30 years later. It's just how it's going to be. I'm sure people still rag on SMU, that don't like SMU. So it's just how it is. But there is this whole thing of like, wait a minute, you were bad, and then you're good again. And we can't wrap our heads around that. And I'm sure that exists in every league, but it's more prevalent in the old Southwest Conference and the Big 12 and all that because people got used to it a certain way.
All right, we break, come back. Paul's Top 5 at 5:55. This is SicEm365 Radio.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. Presented by Slapsticks Comedy Club. For ticket information, go to slapstickscomedy.com.
You can see me at 4 different shows at Slapsticks this weekend, tomorrow night at 7 and 9 o'clock, or 9:15. And then that's both stand-up and then improv and stand-up on Saturday at 7 and 9:15. So come out and see me at Slapsticks Comedy Club, plus a host of other really, really funny people that are going to be there. We're going to have a good time. So slapstickscomedy.com for your tickets. And this is kind of kismet that we got Doug Gottlieb on to talk about this today, about ESPN, but these are top 5 things or questions that ESPN clearly to me has not asked or they're not addressing in this whole, trying to corner the market on college football kind of a thing.
All right.
Number 5. What if this doesn't work like you want it to? What if it doesn't? What's plan B, ESPN? You've blown up college football. It's going to be really hard to put the genie back in the bottle. Like, what if it doesn't work? What is plan B? And I hope they do have a plan B, but it just seems so out of the blue and that they've done all this that,
Wait a minute.
Or maybe this is plan B. Plan A already failed.
Well, one of the reasons we're in this situation the last couple of weeks with this audience explosion and college football interest of what might happen, the good, the bad, the ugly, the fantastic, exhilarating, horrible, is because maybe there was a conference that wasn't looking enough at what plan B or C or D is. So you can't, right now it all looks like everything. Greg Sankey's going to he was going to get a raise anyway. Mm-hmm. But what if this blows up in their face? What then happens? I don't know if it will. I mean, money, right? That's a great question.
Yeah. Number 4, and Doug Gottlieb brought this up. What happens to your viewers in parts of the country you've left behind? That you said we don't care about your TVs
Listen, in certain parts of the country, they really don't care.
But there are certain parts of the country that do.
No,
so I think about I know this is going to be kind of a long-winded. I'm trying not to make it this way comparison, but in the movie 42, Branch Rickey, played by Harrison Ford, convinced the other owners to desegregate baseball because everybody's money was green. And that's how he convinced them to do it, because he had a broader mission, but had to convince the owners to let down their prejudices to move on. I think about this, and the other thing is I know they don't care about that or there's all this, but there are viewers and their money's green too.
No.
I mean, why would you?
But they don't have their concern is not that they don't have green money, it's that they have stacks of Benjamins and thousands and millions, and if they did, then I don't think they would be left behind. And that is, with all due respect, one of the things that those being left behind or could be left behind are going to have to convince others there needs to be another way, a distribution of streaming, of whatever else, to bring in money somehow. Yeah. And they may not be able to do that.
Number 3, if they are trying to do a super league, has anyone copying the NFL ever been successful?
Never. So even when they had a niche, or even when they had a little bit of the door open, the USFL screwed that up.
Yeah.
They had superstars. They went after big names, had them. They were locked in. They were playing pretty fun football. And they no. Yeah. XFL 2, 3, 4, 10, USFL, WFL, Spring League, no.
Yeah. No, it's never worked. So I don't know why trying to make college football more like the NFL you think is going to work for you. Number 2, where does it stop? Where's the end game? What's the end? Where does it stop? Because if this, say Texas and Oklahoma isn't enough, what is enough? Because if Texas and Oklahoma isn't enough, I don't know what is.
Well, then it's Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah,
And then it's Clemson, and it's Penn State, and it's Florida State. And that's kind of what we could be headed to, is like a 32-team Blue Bloods. And some. See, here's my question. If they go to a 32-team Blue Bloods, they're going to have to leave some of them behind that are still Blue Bloods and have 75, 80, 90, 100,000 seat stadiums, great tradition, Heisman Trophy winners that still spend crap loads of money, that have some TV interest. But are you going to kick out Vanderbilt to bring in Nebraska? They're not going to do that. The SEC now. Is that something those schools eventually have to worry about?
I think that's why I say, where does it stop?
Yeah.
Where do they say, like, SEC, thank you? Like,
you've helped us. We've been loyal. We're at 16. We need to get to 32, but we've got about 12 or 14 others we need to bring to the table, and we're sorry about you.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is people were asking for expansion of the playoffs, and they just did that because people want to see more teams. We're sick of seeing the same teams over and over. This is going to be opposite.
Yeah, it really is.
It's not hearing your viewers, which Armstrong.
But if you're the SEC and you have these superpowers, Georgia, Florida, LSU, let's say Texas A&M, Texas and A&M, Oklahoma, I'm talking about those who have all the money, then you're going to get 5 of them in rather than just 1 or 2.
Yeah.
If the SEC is getting 2 out of 4, they're going to get 5 or 6 of the 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I think they are. That's their ultimate goal.
Yeah. And the number one thing, does anyone really want this? Does anyone want realignment? Like, true college football fans, and I say this just because based on the wide swath of calls that we've gotten from all over the country, texts, chat, all these things that we've gotten from all over the country, I don't really feel like anybody wants this. Like, real college football fans, I don't see a groundswell of people going, it's about time. Thank God. I mean, most people are like, well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be cool to watch Oklahoma and Alabama play, or, Texas and LSU, but nobody wants it, really. I mean, if you said, well, I mean, do you have to be in the conference? I'd be like, nah, not really. I mean, it's just like, so.
Right now, there's a high. Oklahoma and Texas are getting, right now, they're getting all this love from not only within themselves, which that they get that anyway. Now they're kind of like, man, we kind of separated from what we thought was maybe getting boring or whatever, even success or not. They're getting all this attention. Eventually that settles.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't know if, 1 out of every 20 text or responses from a Texas or even an Oklahoma fan, and all of them have been great and passionate. How many of them have actually said they don't like this idea? 1 out of 20 of each? Maybe?
Yeah. But, I mean, that's just those two fan bases. But, I mean, we've heard from other fan bases in the SEC, they're like, yeah, I'm fine with it, but,
the fan bases in the SEC were like, hey, we kind of like what we had. We're pretty much.
And so, again, like I asked, did ESPN say, do people want this? And maybe I'm more in the dark about college football fandom than I think I am. But I've covered this for a long time and been a fan my entire life. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that they really want all this. As a matter of fact, whenever you hear somebody talk about 4 16-team super conferences, most of the time it's not somebody's like, oh, man, that would be awesome. It's like, well, that's where it's going. We can't stop it. It's not really what we want, but
Yep.
I mean, it's doom. It's not what we want. So,
all right, good stuff, Paul. The top 5 put up again as a separate segment brought to you by
SicEm365
Comedy. Also, Craig's off the radar now with our new sponsor, Pickup Outfitters. Thanks to Jay Arrett. Thanks to Hayden, Jack. Thanks to Armstrong, Marquise, Craig, and Paul. Tomorrow we'll be back at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and right back at it with many of the topics. Baylor football opens up their workouts. We'll have some of that as well. I'm David Smoak. Have a great night. SicEm365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.